Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Saturday, which means it's time for a Talk Magic interview. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited about this interview. This is somebody who I have a huge amount of respect for, somebody who has literally been there, bought the t-shirt, done everything in this industry to an incredibly high level, and is considered the greatest pitchman when it comes to pitching products, an incredible kids entertainer, a psychic entertainer. Like, this guy has done it all and then some. Wrote one of my favorite books of all time that made me a fortune when I was a lot younger, and I can't wait to speak to him about
which book was that?
Your Svengali book.
Oh, that book.
I mean, I haven't even introduced you yet, but I pitched Svengali decks for years, and your book was the template that I used.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Years, and it was you that inspired me to do that, and it was your pitch that I pretty much used all of the information out of the book.
I have no idea. Where did you and whereabouts did you pitch in England?
In England. So when so for many years I would work market stalls in England.
Right.
I would literally get to a market stall at 6 o'clock in the morning, queuing up to get my pitch. Every 7 days a week, I'd be in West Bromwich Bilston on the Monday. Tuesday was West Bromwich. Wednesday was Warsaw. Thursdays was Stafford. Friday and Saturday was Birmingham Rag Market, and Sunday would be Bescott Market. And I would literally be pitching every day, and I made a lot of money thanks to you.
How about that? Did you ever work Petticoat Lane?
No,
I don't even know if it's still there.
No, it was just.
I have worked in nearly every town in Britain. I'm British, and I worked at department stores, exhibitions, and although I hated doing markets, the cold and the rain. But
my favorite was the Rag Market in Birmingham because it was inside, and it was right next to the bull ring. And it had massive footfall like all day, every day. Yeah. And it was open to like 8 o'clock at night. And I'd very easily, especially around about Christmas, I could clear, we're talking like 20 or 30 years ago now. Yeah. I could very easily clear like 600, 700, 800 pounds a day just doing Sven. Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah, you can. Well, I worked in the very first place I worked with Svengali deck out of London. I lived in London. The very first place I worked out of London was in Birmingham. I couldn't understand what anybody said there. I remember it was like being I couldn't understand the accents. Then I worked in Britain in Birmingham quite often. Worked in Bingley Hall in Birmingham. Worked sold Svengali decks and I don't know the big mall there. It was wrong. There was a bit of crookedness going on in that mall. I remember there was a guy there. I won't mention his name. He's dead now. He was a grafter, and he would he'd bring people into the other grafters into the mall and do a deal with the management where he'd take a cut. The whole thing was bent. But Birmingham worked a lot, and Blackpool. I spent years in Blackpool. But then I went to Ireland, where I took in fortunes with the cards. They'd never seen it before. I was selling 400 decks a day. What happened was the Svengali deck was beginning to sales of the cards in England were going down, and I was getting like, instead of selling 5 or 6 dozen a day, I was going down to like 2 dozen a day. I thought this is terrible. Then I went over to Ireland, and I did a little exhibition there, and I thought, and I was selling a lot. And, I remember I went onto the Huggers, which is something for spectacles, to stop the glasses slipping. So, and I used to sell those. So I went over to Ireland to do that. I sold a lot. Then I ran out of stock. So I called up a local magician. I said, "Do you have any Svengali decks?" And he sent me what he had. And I couldn't believe it. In 1 hour, with a Svengali deck, I sold 60 decks. 60 in 1 hour. Whereas in England, it would take me all day to sell 2 dozen. So I thought, hey, that's something funny going on here. So I went back to England. I was supposed to go into a department store in Newcastle. And I thought, do I go in there? I'm going to take a chance and try Ireland, because if I can sell 60 decks in 1 hour in Ireland, uh, what's it going to be like for Christmas? So I got into it. I went over to Ireland and I got in a department store. I was selling to my unbelievable 400 decks a day. The best day was 480 decks in one day from 10 till 6. I thought, oh my God, this is the gold mine. This little, I used to call it my little green piggy bag. So I thought, I moved, I shifted. I moved from England to Ireland. I started because the business was so much better there. I know, but and the Irish used to laugh. They say, "Oh, people don't realise how well we do." Apparently, they're the richest. I don't really believe it. I've been reading on the internet. Ireland is the richest country in Europe. I can't believe it, but that's what they supposed to be. The one of the richest places in Europe. So I don't know, but I did well there.
Well, before we go on, because I want to talk all about pitching Svengali decks, I haven't even probably introduced you. So everybody that's watching this,
Okay,
I'm talking about the legend. I'm talking to the legend Mark Lewis, who everybody, you are an institution in this industry, and I came into the internet with watching you troll people on the internet before trolling was even a thing. Like some of your posts back in the day on like Magic Bunny and Talk Magic were just hilarious. And I would just sit there watching and just like becoming more of a fan every single post I read. I've been a fan for a long time, and I want to dissect everything about you. But I want to start at the very beginning if I can, so that we're not all jumping all over the place. And I want to know, first of all, Mark, how did you get into this industry? It feels like you've been in this industry forever. I mean, what's your origin story? What did you? When did you start? How did you find magic? How did
I was nearly okay. I probably started the same way a lot of people start. I was nearly 13 years old, nearly. For some reason, I remember I was only a couple of months off away from being 13, and I went into a library, and because I used to live in Glasgow, in Scotland, and when I was a kid, then I moved to England when I was young, and a little bit. So you're like a kid, and get little tricks out of Woolworths and little tricks. But anyway, so it's a little bit of an interest in magic because being a kid, all kids are interested in magic to some degree. So I go into the library. I thought, oh, there's a book on magic, and I got the book out of the library, and it was Magic as a Hobby by Bruce Elliott. You see, and I couldn't do a single bloody trick in it. I thought it had all these props and these things which I don't know about magic. So I thought, well, I couldn't do anything. I went back to for sentimental reasons. I got the book again a few weeks ago. I looked at, I still can't do any of the damn tricks in it. But anyway, there was one trick with jokers and which at least it was normal objects, and I couldn't do it. And I still can't do it. But anyway, so I thought this book bloody useless. So I took it back to the library, and I got another book out, Scan's Magic Tricks. And that book is full of tricks with normal objects and normal everyday. My favorite was the one with a piece of chalk. I make a little chalk mark on the table, and you rub the chalk mark through the table. You put your hand underneath the table, the chalk marks on your hand. I should start doing that again. It's a good baffle everybody. So because that book had more items with normal objects like pencils and coins, and I could do some of the tricks in that book. See? So I like them. Took that back to the library, and then I got a book out on card tricks from the library. What the hell was it? By Wilfred Johnson, Card Conjuring, and I took to the card tricks quite well. So I was doing magic. That's how I got started, and then. And the big turning point was a Royal Road to Card Magic, which I got from Elliston's, and I had a meteoric improvement in my work from that book, the Royal Road to Card Magic, and it would be showing people card tricks from that book. And before I was only getting, with the other books, the lukewarm reactions. Okay, it was not bad. But when I got the Royal Road to Card Magic, something happened, and I started getting fantastic reactions. I really started getting good reactions when I got a book out the library. No, oh yeah, I went to a library, a different library, and I saw this book, Expert Card Technique. And I went through the book, just browsing it in the library. And it was like nuclear science. Oh, I can't do any of this stuff. It was very difficult. It was quite an advanced book. I thought I'll get it out of the library anyway and see if I can do any of it. And I took it home, and I couldn't do any of the tricks in it. I'm not sure if I still a few of them now, but not my. I couldn't do it. But the section at the back, showmanship and presentation. Or maybe it's just presentation. There's a section on the back of expert card technique, which nobody ever mentions. The magicians never mention. You know, talk about all these other books on showmanship, presentation, the awful book Henny Mills, and but this section on the back of expert card technique is the best information and advice on doing close-up magic that's ever been written, and nobody ever mentions it. The first 3 pages tell you that you have to be some sort of character. You decide an event in advance. What kind of a character am I going to be? And as the years go by, it becomes real. You start becoming that character. And it's not the trick. The trick's not the important thing. It's you, what kind of a personality you are. That's what it is. And Joseph Dunninger once said, nail through finger will suffice if you have some way of magnetizing and hypnotizing that audience. Any bloody trick will do, in other words. I'm exaggerating a bit. I won't say do any trick, but the philosophy is right.
Yeah.
Presentation is the key thing, you know? So that's what anyway, that's me spouting.
No, that's good. And what did you like? Did you want to become a professional magician right from the very beginning? Like you got into it when you were 13?
Well, I think I wanted to do other things. Eventually I did. Stupid. I don't recommend anybody do what I do. It wasn't a good idea. But I was forced to sell. I ended up selling Svengali decks, and I was forced to. The only way I could stop from starving as a magician was to do the Svengali deck, and you get caught in that. It's very time consuming, and you're distracted from doing shows. Somehow I managed to start doing shows somehow, but it wasn't easy because the Svengali deck is a terrible. Well, because for 2 reasons. One, it takes up a lot of time, and 2, as you mentioned, you can make money at it.
Yeah.
Because you can make money at it, you're forced to keep doing it. I won't say forced, but show business is hard. I've always said that the grafting, we call it, over in Canada and America, they call it pitching for some stupid reason. What is grafting? In Britain, we call it, I'm a grafter. I'm not a pitchman, I'm a grafter. But they call it pitchman over here. I've always said that grafting is a very hard way to make an easy living, and show business is an easy way to make a hard living. You know, if you think about it, it's easy, the work's easy, but it's hard to keep going. You've got to hustle all the time. So it's an easy way to make a hard living. Grafting is really hard work. There's plenty of work. You can work every week, every day of the year if you want to, but it's torture. So you're caught between the devil and the people who see. Well, then I became psychic, so another story.
Well, I'm going to get to that because that's a story that I want to hear all about. But what kind of made you go into pitching Svengalis then? Like,
I shall tell you exactly what happened.
Okay.
Right. I was getting working a normal job at a bank. I worked last Friday. I was getting, I think, I worked in a bank. I worked in all these. I must have had a ton of jobs. I was about 60. I sold vacuum cleaners door to door. I didn't have to sell any, but sold carbon paper on the phone, and lots of jobs. None of them, and I didn't last very long at it. And so one day, there was a club years ago called the Vampire Club, which is a magic club. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. No. The Vampire Club is, they used to do meetings in a pub. You know, they have their It's a magic club of years ago. I think Max Andrews started it, but he vanished. I don't know or something. They kept it on, and Claude Manley was there, and various people. And I was in a pub, and after the meeting, they'd all go downstairs and lose themselves silly. Everybody would be drinking in the pub. So I happened to see Ron McMillan there. Yeah, you know who that is.
Yeah, obviously, from Ron's day,
Yeah,
the
that's right.
iconic convention for many years
Right,
in London.
that's right. Well, so Ron. So I'd never spoken to Ron. I'd never met him, but I see him, and I thought he must be a very wealthy man. I found out later he wasn't, but he had a fancy coat on, and he looked the business, and and Val Andrews was there, who's also you'll have heard of, and I heard him say, I just overheard as the place was crowded, and I heard him say, I overheard him in a loud voice saying to Val, "I'll see you at the schoolboys, Val. I'll give you a third." Right? But so I translated that in my mind. Well, he must mean the schoolboys and girls exhibition, which is on in London, and giving you a third. So my brain was working. I thought he must be paying Al Andrews, giving him a job there, giving a third of the sales. So I thought, oh, maybe he'll give me a job. And now I'll see you. Let me think how many words were around that sentence. He said, "I'll see you at the schoolboys. I'll give you." I can't, but 7 or 8 words. It changed my entire bloody life. Because I thought, just at those. If you hadn't said those, fate is strange. You hear one little thing happens, a tiny little thing. Your whole life is. So here, if I hadn't had those 7 words, or I was, or a few yards away, my whole life would have been different. I heard him say that. I'm broke. I need to get a job. International Magic. I know where he is. So the next day, I traipsed down to Ron McMillan's place, and I think they still have the same premises actually. So if somebody, it's the same phone number from like 60 years ago. So I went in and I saw him, and I said, "Can you give me a job?" The Andrews thing. So he says, "Do you drink?" I said, "Well, I don't." So he looked disappointed. That was his only question for the interview. He says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." He says, "You can come and work the schoolboys exhibition, and be starting on such and such day." So and you would you, in those days, there's just one trick they had, the Svengali deck. Later on, he added on other little items. So I said, "All right." So when I got there, there's this long, massive long table, not with one grafter, but had about 10 magicians in a row. Oh yeah, it was unbelievable. Big long. There was another guy called Eric Ward that he went to business with on this thing. Eric was an escape artist. He died. Well, they're both dead now. But a big long booth, big long table, and they're all the side by side. It's a horrible way to work, by the way. And they're all working. They're all competing against each other. And I was really nasty in those days. I was loud. I cringe when I think about how horrible I used to be. I'm still horrible, but I'm an angel now compared to what I was. And I was ruthless, and I was making a lot of noise. People would have people. I could do the boomerang card. So I'd do the boomerang card over somebody else's crowd and say, "Never mind him coming over to me." It wasn't very popular. But I do not advise doing it that way. But if you want to live very long. But anyway, so the first day that I worked, I took in. Ron McMillan gave you a third of the sales, but if you took more than £25, because in those days it was 7 and 6 the card. If you took more than £25, he'd give you an extra pound as a bonus. And unlike normal jobs that I've been in, he didn't pay once a week. You could submit the sales figures. He paid you every night, and then all the silver, all the change. He'd say, "Oh, I can't be bothered counting that change. He'd give me the change. It's like a bonus. He couldn't be bothered, you know." So he was actually very good that way. And first day, I took £18. let me try and remember. £18. I can't remember how many Svengalis that is. Seven and sixpence. I'd have to work it out. Seven and sixpence. I took £18. There was probably 4 dozen. I don't know. I can't remember how many. But I got £6 like for the day. I thought I couldn't believe it. I thought £6 because in those days it was £10 a week was a normal wage. £20 if you're considered very wealthy if you got £20 a week. And £40 a week could be like you're like £2 grand a week nowadays. But anyway, but in £6 in one day, and then I thought this is incredible. And then so for a whole I don't know how long, a week, the whole exhibition, and I'm making all this money. I thought this is all right. This is quite good. I think I can do with a bit more of this. But the exhibition was only 1 week. So now what do I do? So I started scratching around again. And then he calls me up. He's got another exhibition, the Holiday and Travel exhibition. Will you come and tell Svengali decks there? So I went there, but it was completely different because there was nobody in the bloody place. The place was empty. Hardly sold anything. So I remember playing cards with some of the other grafters and pitchmen, and I kept winning by sheer luck. There was not. I didn't even know how to play them then. I wasn't cheating, but they thought I was cheating. To this day, they still think I'm cheating. And I kept winning by sheer luck. I didn't even know how to play this bloody game. But because they knew I did card tricks, made them suspicious. And they went up to Ron McMillan's stand and said, "That guy, does he cheat at cards?" And they said, "Oh, yeah, I wouldn't put it past him," because they didn't like me. Some of the other demonstrators. I wouldn't be probably. So that made things worse, and I think they wanted to lynch me. But I just won. I made more money playing cards and accidentally winning than I ever did selling cards there. And to cut a long story short, that's how I got into the Svengali deck. Went on from then on selling the cards, and I did other products too. I got to know all the pitchmen, all the grafters, the flower holder and the eyeglass cleaner and the knife. Still got the scar on my thumb to this bloody day with the knife. So that's what happened, and I ended up ruining my life for the next 50 years or so, selling magic.
Well, that's the question. I mean, obviously, like you said earlier on, the problem with pitching Svengalis is that you end up in a situation where you don't have time to do any shows. Is that
that's right
with you? Like you were going around the UK.
I had to, but you see, I was forced to earn a living. Nobody was looking. I didn't live in a house with anybody. Nobody looked after me. I was young, and I had to look after myself. So I got some shows. I worked in nightclubs for quite a while in London. But show business, as you know, is not reliable. You get quiet periods. Now, when a quiet period come up, I have to earn a lot. I've got to pay the rent. I've got to eat. So what do? It's easy enough. I can go selling the cards, but then it distracts me. Distracted me from the show business. And I wasn't. To this day, I'm not good at marketing. I don't. In those days, it was so. But somehow or other, I did manage to do some shows, and for a while, I had a couple of years where I was doing non-stop. Germany doing on the American base. But the grafting, unfortunately, is a terrible distraction. You're forced to, if times are hard, what do? You fill in with something which makes a lot of money. So maybe I should have stuck to grafting. I don't know.
Well, I have questions. So the first question is, I referenced your book earlier on, The Long and the Short of It.
Okay.
Where did that come in the timeline? Like, how long into your journey as a pitchman or a grafter did you decide to write the book? What made you decide to write it? Because in essence, what you were doing is creating, up until that point, anybody who had to pitch Svengalis, they figured out a pitch themselves. And you basically gave away
I gave away.
You gave away everything that's made you a fortune.
Well, I didn't give away everything, but what I did was I made sure that forget why I originally wrote the damn thing. I just can't remember why. There was a good reason, but just can't remember what the hell it was. I made sure not to include any business information. People can read that book. You had a bit of a brain, so you were able to find markets. But 90% of people that read that book, well, everybody wants to be a pitchman, a grafter. They all want to be a grafter. I've never understood it because I know what torture it is, but they wanted to do it. But it ain't easy. You've got to find. There's things they don't know. I didn't, and I still haven't disclosed any information about the business side of it. Where you buy the merchandise, how you get into exhibitions cheap, how you nobody will survive. You got to how do you negotiate with department stores and I learned that from other grafters that used to work other stuff, the eyeglass cleaner and the flower holder. That's where my education, not from the magicians, and from those I've worked markets. They're tough. Yeah, they're tough. I worked one bloody market, and the crowd was so big. The guy next door to me got so upset by it, he threw a knife at me and just missed my hand by like 6 inches. And then another guy came over and started fighting with me because oh hell, the markets are actually hard. You don't get that in a department store. No, it's nice, but yeah, it's a tough business. Vendors that you're near may not like you because you're causing. Some of them like you, some of them don't like you. Some of them realize that you're drawing people over, but some of them you get annoyed. Here's a quick funny. This is a little bit of a funny story in a way. I do a lot of trade shows now for companies. Hire me as a magician, and of course, being a grafter, it suits me because it's quite similar in some ways. Only you get paid more at the trade show. So I read in a book by Eddie Tulloch, the famous trade show magician. He said, always go up to the people, the booth next door, and be nice to them and say, I may draw a bit of a crowd for you. If the crowd is too big, just let me know, and if I'm too noisy, just let me know, and I'll control it. You get on their side, you see. So, which I thought was, I said, maybe I should do that when I'm selling the Svengali deck. You do a little bit of that. I don't know. I think I did it once or twice in Canada. Canadians are very polite. They're not like the horrible British. They're nice, polite. Anyway, I happened to go over to England at the time, and I thought, well, I worked. It was a street market in Great Yarmouth. Right? I was just on holiday, but I thought, well, sell some Svengali decks and pay a little bit. So there's a guy there selling cutlery at a big booth, and I thought I'll try the Eddie Tulloch thing. I said, look, if my crowd gets a little bit, I'll just let me know. And he says, if your crowd gets my fucking way, I'll break your fucking neck. He said. So I thought, oh, I'm in England now, so it's different here.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. But they're very polite in Canada. It's not different.
Well, how
did in America they probably should.
Obviously, for people that don't know, you grew up in England, traveled all over Europe pitching Svengalis. You now live in Canada, in Toronto, I believe. Is that right?
Or, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So how did you end up in Toronto? I'll
tell you how I ended up here. It all started with Ripley's. Ripley's, believe it or not. You've heard of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I worked in Blackpool for years, and I worked in their museum in Blackpool. And there was some talk of maybe I'll do a magic theatre in the Blackpool Museum. The head office of Ripley's was in Toronto at that time. It isn't anymore. And the big boss of Ripley's came over to the Blackpool just to have a look at what's going on. Had a little bit of a conversation. So I thought to myself, I will go over to Toronto and try to persuade Ripley's to have a theatre, magic theatre in the Blackpool Museum. So I get on a plane to Toronto, But once I'm here, I saw Ripley's. I didn't get anywhere at all with the Magic Theatre, you know. But I was seeing all these department stores, right? So I thought, oh, I go into what do you call Eaton's. I went into and I said, oh, I've got this a pack of cards from the Svengali deck. I said, I'm over from England, but you know, and I went into another. They'll let you know. I can't hang around waiting until they let me know. England, they tell me straight away. So I went to another department store. So I went to 3 department stores, the Bay, Simpsons, and Eaton's. They all said, yes, we'll have a Svengali deck in. But there's only me. Right? How am I going to be in 3 places? So, so in the end, I had to hire. I think I hired a local guy in Canada. I took a couple of people over from England. One of them, let me just tell you now. One of them, you'll see on Facebook. There was a young guy I took over to Canada, and he worked with me. And his name was I don't know if you ever heard of Tony Moore. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah,
Probably
name
not.
rings a bell, yeah.
I'll tell you who he is. He, I call him Lance. Um, oh, what's that band? That bloody Iron Maiden. Okay, he was the keyboard player on Iron Maiden, and he joined Cutting Crew, which is a uh, another one of those groups. Died in Your Arms Tonight. That was the hit record they had.
Yeah.
And he's actually a member of the secret Facebook group that you're on. Okay,
Oh,
that I'm on. He's a member there. Okay, and Tony Moore, and he's on the Facebook, and he's very highly respected in the music business. But he started off with me selling the Svengali decks. You know,
wow.
I met him in Bristol. I was at the Bristol Ideal Home exhibition, and that week, 2 very young magicians came in on separate days. Um, one was Peter Snow, who's about, I think he must have been about 13 or 14 years old. Right? Um, and he worked with me in Blackpool, Peter. And and then as the years went by, he became one of the world's greatest street entertainers, Peter Snow. If you look him up on YouTube, you'll see I think he's retired now. He showed it. He ended up living in Canada too, in Montreal, a different life, coincidentally. Um, and then a few days later, Anthony came in, Tony Moore, and so, they're like I've always said that I used to run a university, the University of Evil, and I was the the main teacher. So they were students of the University of Evil. They learned a lot from me, and they'll even say that to this day that they got a lot of knowledge from me. I never taught them; they just picked it up like osmosis, just me.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I ended up in Canada. I ended up, you know, doing business here. Every Christmas I'd come over and organize things, you know. But I wanted to emigrate so I could do things properly. I had to do it. I had to organize these things with the department stores on a business kind of um, arrangement where I was not allowed to take the money, but take the Canadians would take it. A bit complicated. But so eventually I decided I wanted to emigrate to Canada properly. And it was very difficult to get in. They reject 9 out of 10 people. And I went into the embassy and I said to the guy interviewing me, I said, let me explain about this was in the Irish embassy. Because when I moved to Ireland, I went to the embassy there and I said, well, look, this is a pack of cards. And I said, I'm very experienced with Canada. I mentioned the department. He says, and this is an Irish guy interviewing. He says, I have to tell you, Mr. Lewis, I've never been to Canada in my life. And he was a guy interviewing me. They hire local staff to decide who gets into Canada. Um,
Hilarious.
and then one day it's a long story, but I ended up going down there and doing card tricks in the embassy, and they all went nuts. And it's a long story, but in my book I tell the story, the lies of a showman. But I went down to the Canadian embassy and actually met a Canadian interviewer, actually was Canada, and I showed him all my newspaper articles, my psychic, because in Ireland I was a household name as a psychic, Palmer's Tarot card reader. And he says, "Is this a religion or something?" I said, "Well, not really." Then I showed him the magic, the Svengali. So this is what I used to sell in Eton. So I showed him. He says, and he lost all interest in the interview. How do these cards work? How do I said, "Well, you do it." And then I said, "Do you know any other tricks?" And I showed him some other tricks with a regular deck. And he says, and he went over serious. He says, "I want you to follow me, please." I thought, "What's he taking me?" I thought he was going to get me because security to get me kicked out or something. But we wandered down to the switchboard where the switchboard is, and he says, and these are all Irish telephonists. He says, "Show these girls what you showed me, those card tricks." Right? So I'm doing that, and they're going. They close down the switchboard of the embassy for half an hour. They're all watching these cards. Jesus! And here's this guy is smirking. With his back to the wall, and he's got a little smirk on his face, like, "Look what I found," you know. And then he says, "Come back with me to the office." He says, "Have you ever thought of emigrating to Canada?" I said, "Well, I did." I said, maybe. And "Well, he says, we reject 9 out of 10, but we think you'll be a cultural and artistic benefit to Canada." Little did he know. But so he interviews me, and he says, it normally takes 9 months to get to go through the process. 3 weeks later, I was granted permission to come to Canada because it said, "You got to give us £80. £80, come in and see us for and I phoned up the receptionist. They said if you're giving us £80, you're as good as in." They said, and I went and he asked me these a few questions. He said, "Have you ever been convicted of war crimes?" I couldn't think of any. So he said, "All right, you're in." So, and that's how I ended up here. And that's my.
Wow.
I've been going chattering on about nothing.
Oh, I'm loving this. I'm finding this so fascinating. And I want to talk about Canada, but I'm going to circle back a little bit.
Okay.
Purely because we mentioned it before, psychic entertainment, and you just referenced there that in Ireland you were a household name.
Yeah.
So everybody who doesn't know who you are, we've got to the point in the story where you're traveling basically Europe, pitching Svengalis, making a good living from it, not able to really do that many shows because you're pitching Svengalis.
Right.
How do you go from Svengalis to, and you're not being a lot of the psychic stuff that you did was readings and so on and so forth.
That's right.
How did you go from pitchman, grafter to psychic readings? Where did that all come from?
Well, the clouds opened one day and I got this power and bang. Now let me think what happened. Ireland is a problem. Ireland was very good money, but the big problem in Ireland was not many venues. You don't have the same amount of venues as England. So you starve in England because they won't give you money, and in Ireland you starve because there's nowhere to bloody work. Although I managed somehow. So there was a young guy from Canada. He's a distinguished professor now in the university here. Won't be quite so distinguished when I tell the story, but anyway, he Adam Harm, written book on economics, very very sort. Anyway, so he was a young guy at the time, and I said, "What?" I said, "Why don't you come over to Ireland?" Because he used to work for me in Canada. I said, "Come over to Ireland, and you can work in Ireland." I would say. So we did. But of course, he ended up going. They both ended up going broke nearly. I had to send him over to Marvin's Magic. I had a kind of a exchange program with Marvin Burglass. He'd send over his people to me to Ireland to learn how to be wicked and evil and sell stuff. My method. I'd send people over to him to learn proper behavior. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Adam used to go to I used to send Adam over to Marvin Burglass. But anyway, what the hell was it? We were going broke there. We were going broke, and I thought, oh, have to backtrack a little bit. It was complicated. I well, before all this happened, before I brought Adam over to Ireland, I had gone to an exhibition, a psychic fair. This is what happened. This is how I ended up being. I went to it may have been Birmingham. Yes, it was Birmingham.
Right.
Birmingham. I, I started Svengali decks in Birmingham. I started becoming psychic in Birmingham. I there was a psychic fair in mind, body, and spirit exhibition in Birmingham, and I exhibited selling Svengali decks there. Okay, and I did very well, making a lot of money, and everything was good. But there was a problem. The same, the psychics need quiet. When you're doing readings, you need quiet. You don't want some guy in there going, when you come in a bit, move your leg, your body will follow. One foot after the other. It's known as walking. You can't really do that in psychic fairs. You certainly can't do what the grafters in Blackpool used to do. I didn't do this because I'm not a run-out worker. A run-out worker is, maybe know what that is?
No, I don't.
Jam auction people. They're
Right.
illegal. They might. They tried to ban them in England. Maybe they're banned by now. I don't know. The jam auction, but they had different venues in Blackpool and an empty shop window. So the guy would say, "Can you come in at the back? Don't block up the back passage. I don't block up your back passage, do I, mate?" And that's what they used to say, the grafters and the run-out workers. But you certainly couldn't do that in psychic fairs. But so anyway, because of the commotion I'm causing, the organizer, the lady running the thing, comes down. And she says to me, she says, "This is terrible what you're doing. You're making all this noise. You're blocking the aisle, and these people here, these readers, are not calling people over like you do that." She says, "This is terrible. You have to move your table right back to the wall of your booth or your joint or your stand." So she pushes my table right back to the wall. I said, "Well, I can't sell anything if you do that." She says, "You've got to cooperate." She pushes it back and she storms off, you see. And but she's gone. So I thought, oh, she's gone now. So I put the table back again, naturally. But what I forgot is that she was psychic, which she knew. So she comes down and she says, "I told you to put your table back to the wall." And she says, "I don't want you to come back to this. Next year, don't come back. You're not coming back here again. And if you can't cooperate, I never want to see you again. Don't come back to our spiritual psychic fair." So she storms off. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do now? So I run after her and I said, "I'll tell you what I'll do." I said, "Next year I'll come back, but I won't do the cards. I'll do readings just like everybody else." And she looked at me very suspicious. She says, "Are you are you experienced at this?" I said, "I've been doing it for 20 years. I was lying my head off. And I had some vague idea I was going to do the center tear or something. It's a stupid thing to do if you do it. But I didn't know in those days. I thought, well, this. She said, "Well, what kind of reading do you do?" I said, "Tear things up and a bit of fun." "Oh, we can't have that. It's fire regulations in here, burning piece of paper." I said, "Well, I'll do the tarot cards." And and then I forget all about it. I decided to study it, and it's a long story. I won't go into the story. I didn't study it, but I had to show up anyway. And my book will tell you all about it. It's too long a story to tell you, but that's how I ended up in the psychic business. So, and this was way before Adam came over to Ireland. Um, and so I said to Adam, because of all the hoo-ha in Birmingham, I came back the next year and I did exhibit at her event, and I only broke even. It was a very interesting experience. I didn't actually make any money. I was too scared to do the reading, but that would take too long for you. In my book, The Lives of a Showman, explains that. Adam comes over to Ireland. We're both broke. And I said, "I've got an idea, Adam. I'll put an advertisement in the newspaper saying I can do psychic readings." And because I had an office there, uh, Adam used to call it a corporate headquarters. It was a dingy little office. And I put an advertisement in the paper, and I was overwhelmed with readings. Ireland is a good place to do business. I couldn't believe it. I thought I'd get one. Adam says, "Oh, you'll get one person phoning." I was inundated. Hundreds of people were phoning up. I put famous Scottish psychic arriving in Dublin, and I couldn't even do the readings properly. It was and so a third of my customers did not show up, thank God. A third of them, the other half of them didn't like the reading at all, it was bloody awful. Half of them thought it was wonderful. I won't go into the whole story, but that's how I started. That's how I became psychic. I thought, I realized there's money in it. And that's what happened. Then I came to Canada where they have psychic fairs. I did a lot of, I get 10 readings a week in Ireland in this office, whereas in Canada, hardly any private readings. I do some, but the psychic fairs is what I did here. Right. So anyway, that's the psychic.
So, right, my question, I still have more questions. So
I'm talking too much, I think.
No, you're not. I am literally on the edge of my seat. I'm loving every second of this, Mark.
Okay.
So before you get to Canada, you're in Ireland. You said to me, obviously, you know, when you're pitching cards, you've got less time to do shows.
Right.
How did you find the time to do the psychic reading?
Oh, much better. But the reason I did the psychic readings because it dawned on me. I thought the wonderful thing about the private appointments is that you can tie in the shows. If you're grafting, you've got to go to an exhibition out in bloody Blackpool or got to go to Sheffield this week. I'm going to like do shows. Somebody got a booking for me in London. I'm going off to a show. I'm doing grafting somewhere. But the psychic readings was ideal. Not the psychic fairs. The private readings in the office, you do it by appointment. So somebody, there's a lot of flexibility there. Somebody phones you up for a show. Oh, I'll take that date. Somebody phones up for an appointment. Well, I can't do that on that day. I've got a reader, you know. And you can, much more flexible. So I found that a very good combination of private readings and shows. You can do it much easier than actually grafting. When I came to Canada, it was a little harder because psychic fairs you're taking up always on the weekend. Psychic fairs are very lucrative, but the main promoters of psychic fairs in Canada have retired. So when the pandemic came, they kind of thought the hell with it and they just retired. So I'm not really doing the psychic fairs at the moment.
Right. Okay.
But you know, I do private clients and they aren't receiving.
That's amazing.
So that's what that's all about.
Okay. So when you came over to Canada,
right?
Obviously, you did psychic readings.
Yeah.
You're still pitching cards.
Yeah.
But I know that you're now a busy performer. I know, you know, I've seen you speak about kid shows and doing a lot of shows and other types of shows as well. And up until this point, you've not even mentioned kid shows once. Oh. So how did
I become a kids entertainer?
Because again, like these are three things that are just completely disconnected. You wouldn't think of a psychic entertainer or a psychic medium, somebody who does psychic reading, wouldn't think of them as a pitchman, and you definitely wouldn't think of either of those people as a kids entertainer, and yet you're kind of making it all work. It's fascinating.
Some magicians are astonished that I'm a kids entertainer. They hear it and they're, what?
I'll be honest with you, the first time I found out, I was drinking a coffee and I was like almost dropped it. I was like, really?
Well, just a few days ago, only a few days ago, Terry Herbert, who you know, said, I can't imagine you as a kids entertainer. You must frighten all the children. So I said, well, I've got a video. I'll show you. I said, so I posted it. So he looked at the video and says, I take back what I said. He thought I was a good kids entertainer. So that was okay.
Well, you know, if Terry says you're a good kids entertainer, that's all you need to know, right?
That's right. He retracted his statement. But I can tell you how I became a kids entertainer. Trying to escape the Svengali. I'm on Central Pier in Blackpool. I started doing kids shows in Blackpool, actually, in England. Not so much Ireland. It was England I started. On Central Pier in Blackpool. And I am going nuts. I'm going crazy. The wind is blowing the bloody cars into the sea. All the stupid punt that the customers are driving me. I went to take a card, and they turn it face. They weren't very quick on the uptake, my customers in Blackpool. And I thought, I've got to get out of this. I've got to stop doing these bloody cards. How do I stop? I was going insane. And I thought, I know what I'll do. Well, if I could do kid shows, I happen to know that the best day for a children's entertainer is a Saturday. That's usually the busiest day for them.
Yeah.
Right? But I said also the busiest day for the Svengali deck. You see, so I thought if I do kids shows, I will be forced not to sell Svengali decks because I'll be working on a Saturday. So I'll be forced not to do these Svengali decks. It didn't quite work out, but that was my theory. So I thought, all right, I'm going to now become a children's entertainer. What do I do? I don't know anything about kids. I knew I'd seen kids entertainers. I thought, I don't know. I'll go down to the magic shop down the street because I was working on Central Pier, where Paul Clive had a magic shop on North Pier. You've probably heard of the famous Paul Clive of Card Tricks Without Skill.
Yeah.
Paul Clive lived in Blackpool. Had his shop. So I go down to the North Pier, to the magic shop there, and he's not there. So I had nobody to advise me. There was a girl behind the counter who knew nothing about magic. So I thought, well, what do I don't know. If I can't, she doesn't know what I'm supposed to buy. So I thought, oh, Run Rabbit Run. I know that's a kid's trick. I knew that was a kid's trick. I got that. I got a glove pup. I thought well, that's probably to do with the kids. And I bought things that looked a bit colourful, just a few things. And I thought, oh, Open Sesame. I've heard of that book. There's a book called Open Sesame. And I thought, by Eric Lewis and Wilfred Tyre, I'll buy that book as well. It tells you how to do kids shows. Right. So I got all this bunch of crap. And I take it home that night. And I thought, I'll go out to a Chinese restaurant and I'll take this book with me, Open Sesame, and just read it alone while I'm eating. And I read the opening chapter. Oh my God, I thought, I know what to do. The opening chapter of Open Sesame has the best information ever written on children's entertainment, in my opinion. Okay. Again, nobody mentions it. It's like expert card technique. Nobody mentions it. I think Eric Lewis wrote that. Wilfred Tyre was the co-author, but I think Eric Lewis wrote that section. And I thought, I know what to do. I know. I'd never even done a show yet. I walked out of that Chinese restaurant, a children's entertainer. 1 week later, I did a kids show. Went over fantastic. But straight away, bang. Didn't have look, psychic readings took me ages, a couple of years to bloody learn. Hypnotism show took me ages. But kids show, the very first show, bang. So I've been a kids entertainer ever since, you know. Oh. I did the kids shows in Ireland and in Canada and in England. And so that's good. That's how I became a kids entertainer.
That's amazing. And what made you decide to do, you know, because you were there pitching the decks and you were like, oh, I need to do something else. Yeah. What made you decide to do that as opposed to something like close-up magic or stage shows? What made you decide to go into kids entertainment? Because you already had the skill with the cards. Yeah. You know, a Svengali deck. Right. So what made you decide to go?
Okay. In those days, close-up magicians weren't really. It's taken off in the last few years. There was no kid. I was the second magician in Britain. I've made history. Second magician in England to do close-up magic in a restaurant. The first one was Mick Chardo, who later became a traffic. But I read in Abra, Mick Chardo was working at this restaurant in Leon's. He was the only one that was doing it. He was like a pioneer in it. Just getting rid of a fly here. But then I heard he left the restaurant. So I went down to the restaurant and said, I'd like to do, and the manageress was very scary. She said, oh, I don't like to have that guy here telling dirty stories at the table. We don't want that sort of thing. So well, I don't know any dirty stories. And she didn't want to have it. There's a couple of businessmen in her office and they persuaded her to do it, do some tricks. She was not making, she was very miserable, this woman. I don't want this, I don't want this. But they said, oh, it's fantastic. They were raving over the tricks. So I was in that restaurant for a month, Leon's in London. But in those days, close-up magic wasn't done. It wasn't, nobody did it. But I did work nightclubs and cabaret. I did that. but it was hard because I'm distracted from doing shows, and it was, it was hard to combine the two. The kids shows I had an idea. Um, all you had to do was put an ad in the paper. So I thought, well, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
And but it still was. So I did kids shows in Canada. I did them in Ireland. Um, because there wasn't so much in Ireland. I was doing less Svengali decks. There's no way to do it. Do a little bit at Christmas and a few odd places. So the rest of the time I was doing kids shows on the weekends and stuff. So that's how I ended up doing that.
And now you kind of do all three, right? So now you do you still pitch?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I did it a few days ago. I'll never get it. Can't escape from the bloody Svengali day. So I'm a stage hypnotist as well. That's another thing I do. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know that. That's
I'm a very good stage hypnotist.
Where did that come from?
I'm trying to think how that happened. But there's a few things I do. I do psychic readings. I can do close-up magic. I'm pretty good at in the trade shows and kids entertainment. I'm a jack of all trades. But the stage hypnotism, how did the hell that? I never even used to believe in it. Let me think now. There was a very famous stage hypnotist in Ireland by the name of Paul Golden. He was, he was a bit of a con man, but I had quite admired him. My uncle told me about him. He said, my uncle was a doctor in Wales, and when I was 16 years old, he said to me, "Have you ever?" I used to go to medical school with a guy called Paul Golden. Have you ever heard of him? I said, "Is he a magician?" He says, "No, he's a hypnotist. Got into trouble in England, had to skip over to Ireland or something." But many years later, about bloody 30 years later, I meet Paul Golden, and I got to know him a little bit. He was a stage hypnotist, and he said to me, one day he said to me, "You should become stage hypnotist," he says, "because you've got the what's the word, the chutzpah for it, the nerve for it." So I thought, all right, that's so he was the one that got me on that. I never did any of it in Ireland. I only did the. I thought, I said to him, how do you practice a thing like that? Um, uh, how do you? I was getting. And I remember he said to me, "This is what happened." He said to me, "Do you start believing in this psychic stuff?" He says, "If you believe in the psychic stuff, you'll be dead, right?" So I thought, wait a minute, I'm a bit suspicious of this hypnotism. I've got a feeling it may not be the real thing. So I said to him, well, "What about the hypnotism you do? Is that real?" He got all shifty, and he starts looking at the receptionist outside the door. If it's a little clinic, closes the door so she can't hear him. He says, "I was number one for 30 years. I never hypnotized a single person." I said, "Well, how do you do all those people do all this crazy stuff?" He says, "You manipulate them, don't you?" That's what he said. So, it dawned on me hypnosis was a load of crap after I studied it. And it doesn't really exist. That's another argument for another time.
People, you put them into a stage environment and they feel inclined to play along because they don't know if they're hypnotized or not.
Well,
so they
some of them
convince themselves that they are.
There's many different reasons they come up. Some of them are exhibitionists.
Yeah.
Some of them are playing along. Some of them are playing along. It's what's called contract players. You've not made a stooge arrangement with them. They're just doing along for the sake of the show. But the best subjects are the ones that think, this is my opinion. Other hypnotists will argue with me and say I'm wrong. This is my opinion from doing hundreds of shows. I believe that the people come up, the best subjects are the ones that think they're hypnotized. They're under a delusion that they're hypnotized. They think, "Oh, I'm hypnotized." They've conned themselves that they're hypnotized. And they start acting like hypnotists are supposed to, But anyway, I thought, how do I do this damn thing? So I'll come over to Canada. I thought, well, how the hell do you practice? How do you, how do you become a stage hypnotist? You have to go and get an audience from somewhere. And what happens if it doesn't work? So I think Paul Golden told me, practice the tables and chairs at home and make sure you got the patter right. He said, "Get the patter, what description." That's the important thing with it. I'm practicing to the tables and chairs at home. They were doing everything they're supposed to do. I'm imagining them doing these things, and I'm just practicing it. But then the psychic fairs were a godsend, because at the psychic fairs, you have all the psychics are allowed to do a half-an-hour lecture on psychometry and weird and palmistry. So you got a little audience.
Wow.
So I thought I was lecturing on psychometry and stuff. I thought, why don't I try out the hypnotism here? And I thought this will be all right. They've got an audience. I've practiced already and know what to say with the tables and chairs. I will have to do half an hour lectures, never like a whole hour ago. So I did it. So the first, it was in Kitchener in Ontario. Had a small audience, maybe 30 people. And I did my hypnotism demonstration because it fits in with psychic a bit.
Yeah.
I was more amazed than the people. Oh my God, they're doing all this. Look what I'm saying all this, and they're acting. This is unbelievable. It worked straight away. I thought, I'm a stage hypnotist now. So anyway, but then the second time I tried it, it didn't work at all. It didn't, you know, I said exactly the same thing, did exactly the same thing. No result. The third time I tried it, third lecture I did, also didn't work. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, wouldn't work at all. If it hadn't worked the first time, I wouldn't have stuck it out. You know.
How come it didn't work all of those times?
Sorry?
How come it didn't work so many times after it
I don't
worked?
believe that. I was no good at it. I was a beginner. I didn't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just doing it, and it doesn't work. The first time it worked, hypnotists don't like small audience, by the way. If you've got a small audience, that works against it. And I only had a few people. I was completely inexperienced. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But it seemed to work the first time. So I knew that if I kept at it, I'll get there in the end. And eventually, it did start to work. After 7 or 8 times, I started to work, and I started to learn about. I thought maybe I should use stooges, you know, to in case it doesn't work. But the stooges were awful. The stooges were the real people weren't better than stooges. People expect, but Paul Golden said to me, "If you use stooges, you're dead." He said. But then I found out later he used them, so whatever. But and then I had one guy, Adam was back in Canada now. And I said to him, "Will you be a steward for me?" Because he worked with me at the psychic fairs, you know. So he says, "Oh no, I'm not going to be part of a sinking ship," he said. So that didn't work. But eventually, after doing many shows, I got the knack of it, and I started doing paid shows where I had to work, and then I thought, hey, I can do it. And then I was able to do it. You know, practice makes perfect. So
Wow.
the moral of the story is be persistent. Don't give in too quickly.
Well, that's really true. Never give up, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in Canada, obviously you got there and you've stayed there, you know, rather than around everywhere. You're doing, like you say, stage hypnotism, you're doing pitching Svengalis, you're doing psychic readings, you're doing pitch shows. You said you're not very good at marketing, but you're very busy doing all of this stuff. 2 questions. One, what did you enjoy? What do you enjoy doing the most? And secondly, how were you able to get all of this work? You know, because you've said you're not very good at marketing, but
I'm terrible at it.
But Mark, you keep yourself very, very busy. You know, there's magicians that would like even a fraction of the work that you get. Like,
well, it's because of so many things. It's because of a lot of things I can do. And also now that I'm getting old, the government's giving me money, so that helps too. The British government gives me money, and the Canadian government money. I'm old, so I've got a bit more flexibility now. There's not many people. I'm nearly 80 years old. I'm 79 years old. I don't think there's too many people my age working as hard as I do, actually. So how do I keep it? Well, sometimes I'm not busy, but it's because I can do so many different things. You see, if I don't get a kids show, I'll do something else. I'll do something. It's because I'm not good at marketing, but you get through a bit of word of mouth. And I know a tiny bit about marketing. You eventually learn a little bit. I'm not good at it, but anything to do with the internet is beyond me, as you could tell. You know, and a lot of marketing now is a lot of it seems to be on the internet. You know, I feel it. Um, and but the best method I found, apart from word of mouth, repeat business, best method of the lot, the old-fashioned, still just as good as it ever was, but it's better than it used to be. Direct mail. If you got a list, direct mail is better than email, better than it costs you money, and it's a bit time consuming. You got to type out letters and it's that I find I do get some results. You know, people better than me at it, but the little bit I've done, I get some result from direct mail. If I send out a mailing to daycares, I usually get, and even trade shows that you know, send out a nice mailing piece. Here's one little tip about direct mail. If you've got a small list, just if you're mailing to companies, here we are. I'm talking like a marketing expert now. If you mail to companies, get it past the what's the word? Gatekeeper. And all the the best way to do it, providing it's a small list. If it's a big list, it's not going to work. But if it's a list you can handle, like 70, 80, 100 people, not too many, you handwrite the envelopes. Handwrite the envelopes, not
That's
type
great.
it, not and it gets through. It could look like a personal letter, you know. And so I find that helps a lot. So that's my one thing I know about marketing. But
that's really good advice, and you're
it's a
right.
little bit. I know a little bit. I'm being a grafter, being a pitchman. I don't know. You got a kind of you're able to somehow to duck and dive. We used to call it.
Well, you mentioned Marvin earlier on. I remember
Yeah,
Marvin probably about a year and a half ago, and he said pitching magic tricks
yeah,
is the best thing that you can do if you want to learn how to, you know, be a successful magician, because it's going to help you approach people. It's going to help you, you know, relate to people and talk to them, but also it's going to help you sell yourself over the phone, you know, because
yeah.
learning all of those skills.
I hate making phone calls. But, I was going to say something about that. I'll tell no. I'll tell you what grafting is good for. Timing, timing your words, emphasizing words. A lot of magicians got the same monotone, blah blah blah. But when you're a grafter, you sort of say free of all charge. You instinctively say free. Or for the first six people, you you don't even study it; it just comes out automatically. Your wording, and you can tie that over to the magic.
Yeah.
How you time things, and you've got something. I call it the grafter's edge. A magician that's done a bit of grafting has something an edge over other magicians. I call it the grafter's edge. The mentality is a little bit different. It's a little bit cynical, a little bit the natural showman. I've known many grafters from crafting other products, and I've known many magicians. The grafters are the ones with all the personality, and they're off stage. They're real characters. All of them are funny. The grafters they got something different about them. Whereas magicians, well, the personalities of dial tones. Maybe not be rude. They're you know they're well, they're more like accountants and dentists and plumbers, which is what they probably are. You know, grafters. I know they're all bloody thieves, crooks, and evil people, but they're not really. They're a little bit more streetwise than anything else. I met one grafter on a train accidentally, and he was saying, "Oh, the grafters think they're villains. They're not villains. They, they like to think they are." He told me that. So the grafters are the British grafter. That's what I miss about it. I went to Ireland. I went to Canada. They've got pitchmen here, but they're not the same. The British grafter's a special breed. You probably met one or two of them on the markets, I'd imagine. Yeah, they're a different breed altogether. They're funny. They're showmen by nature. You know. A friend of mine, Dennis, he passed away. He was another show. He'd shout out to the punters, "We got your money. You can all clear off now." You know, that sort of thing. And up your wallets, let the moths fly out. It's a different. They're just different. The British grafters. Mind you, it may be different now because I've heard it's a dying art in England. Now they tell me that not so many grafters anymore. So I don't know, but well, that's how I. So I ended up with a hypnotism, stage hypnotism show, and a whole bunch of different things.
As somebody who's such a good grafter, pitchman,
yeah,
and somebody who's worked in Blackpool for many years,
yes,
you know, within the magic community, a lot of people say that when it comes to magic conventions, one of the best pitchmen in a dealer room is Mark Mason. Would you?
I've heard, yeah.
Have you ever seen Mark work? Would you rate?
Yeah. Well, I think I was at an event once where he was, but I can't. It's bad manners somehow for me to go up and watch him. You know, it's just, you know, it's something that I was selling stuff. He was selling. The greatest one of the lot, in my opinion, the greatest magic demonstrator of all time, who used to work the markets, by the way, was Ken Brook. I don't know if you've ever saw him.
I never saw him. He was before my time, but I've had so many people say that he was the best.
He was the best. It was unbelievable. He was really, really good. Ken Brook. He'd insult the people, and he'd well, he would say, "I'm not going to sell them to you." He would sort of, they'd have to argue with him. They wanted to buy it, and he'd say, "No, you're not. I'm not going to sell it to you." And of course they would. He was the best. He used to work on the street markets, and he seemed to know all the grafters. The grafters seemed to, wasn't in the grafting business anymore, but the grafters I knew him. But he was the best. I'm not saying he was the best businessman, but he was a very good grafter. Magic demonstrator, he was pretty good. Yes.
So for people that have been watching this interview up until this point,
right?
For anybody who likes the idea of being a grafter or being a pitchman and selling Svengali decks, what advice would you give them other than don't do it?
Don't do it. Simple as that. Don't do it. You'll ruin your bloody life. You'll end up like me. No, it's no advice. And also, it's also, I am letting out little secrets here and there. You mentioned the book. I don't want people doing it in the Svengali deck. I don't want them doing. I hear some guy in Bangladesh doing it. Get irritated. It's a secret. I have actually opened up more in recent years. I'm not doing it so much now. I've even got some DVDs on pitching, actually. They don't advertise the internet. I don't stuff like that. But I have a set of three DVDs which I sell, and I've written a book on the Magic Mouse, which of course is also a pitching line, a pitching product. And one of the reasons I don't like giving out information on it, it's not so much the competition, that is a problem. You know, you don't want somebody else going there, somebody else is in the mix both with you. But the main problem is the suppliers. You see, there's lots of people wanting to do it. There's only a tiny few suppliers in each country that sell. Like, where do you get Svengali decks? Where do you get this? There's only a tiny few places. And if everybody is, it's a great way for your supplier to be out of stock. What will happen is that, I'm going to buy some cards. They're all buying all these. If there's like 10 magicians doing pitching Svengali deck, they're all going to descend on the one supplier who gets them from China or someplace. And then he's run out, and he has to have to wait another 3 months before he gets more in. So that's why I don't like doing it, because you can be out of stock very quickly. You can't get the merchandise. Everybody's buying. So that's why I shut up about it. You know, and also there's a grafters in. You don't want people knowing how to do it. It's just, I've been doing it for so long, you become protective of it. It's like magicians are the biggest thief anyway. They steal bloody products. So, you know, a bunch of bloody crooks. There's no about the grafters being crooked. The magicians are the worst. You know, they are the worst. They're the ones that are most pompous. Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. And this is, they're all prim and proper. They're bigger thieves than we are. Bigger thieves than the one run-out workers, all stealing each other. God, it's awful. But what am I talking about? Part of my book on the Svengali stolen. What am I talking about? I not all of it. I there was tiny percentage of it that it was from Joe Stothard. He wrote a little book, but I gave him a good plug, and I gave him a good. And 75% of that book is written by me, but there's a little bit from Joe Stothard as well, which I acknowledged in the foreword. You know, the routine is mine. The routine that is mine, and that together for many years. I learned a lot from Ron McMillan, watching him do it. He was very good.
Yeah.
He was very. Ron was amazing with the Svengali deck, but in a weird way, he had no routine. He was like picking up as he's going along, really. And his biggest fault was that he wouldn't stand all day doing it. He would work for an hour, get fed up, and go off to the pub after an hour. You wouldn't see him for another 2 hours. But he would take more in that 1 hour than anybody else would take all day. That was amazing. He hardly worked. He'd get bored of, like, if he worked 2 hours in a row, that would be a lot for him. And then he'd go off to the pub. You know, but he used to sell a lot. I've always said this thing, that international magic, if there was no Svengali deck, there would be no international magic. International magic was founded on that one trick, Svengali deck. Because, you know, he sold them and then hired me and other people to sell the cards. And I went to Belfast for him. I went to Cardiff for the exhibitions, and I traveled around working for him. And then it dawned on me, it's time to work for myself now. I just to buy the cards from him. He imported them from Czechoslovakia. Then in the end, made my own team in Ireland. I was selling so many in Ireland, and in those days I didn't have a supplier. There was no Chinese cards anymore, and Ron McMillan stopped importing from Czechoslovakia. So I had to buy normal cards, and I haven't got the ability. I had to hire 2 students to be working all day to make these bloody cards for me when I went into department stores there.
Wow.
The best day I had, 480 decks was the most I sold in one day. That's only working from 10 till 5, 10 till 6 in the store. I estimated one person in 10 had a Svengali deck in Dublin for me. You know, so that might work. No, I've done a lot of different things. Varied.
And I want to ask you very briefly, because I know that this is going to go up in the comments. Like, you've talked about doing readings and a psychic, and magicians. You talk about magicians. You know, I've been on many message boards, and most
many magic what? Sorry,
many, you know, like Magic Bunny message boards, Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Where magicians debate against each other.
Yeah.
The general consensus of opinion amongst magicians is that you know, psychic readings is something that's dishonest, that you shouldn't do, and it's you know, this, that, and the other, and it's not real. A little bit, you know, like hypnotism. What's your viewpoint as somebody who does that? And I know you've got strong views on it, because I know I've, you know, read posts. What's your viewpoint on
my viewpoint is that magicians are a bunch of wankers and they know nothing about it. They don't know anything about the business. They make it the right books on it. They don't know anything. It's all nonsense. The only guy I can think of I would recommend would be Richard Webster. That's where I learned how to do it. They're writing all this stuff. because I know many different psychics that met at the psychic fairs, and they don't do what the magicians do. The magicians think talk cold reading and all that. They don't do any of that. They believe in it. They believe in it, and I sort of believe in it myself. You know, I didn't when I first started. When I first started doing readings, I was crooked as everybody else. But then something you get starting to. This is my philosophy. This is my belief about it. When somebody first, there's two types of people that come into the psychic business: the ones that believe in it and the ones that don't believe in it. Okay, so the ones that believe in it, the ones that don't believe in it, the longer they do it, the more they start to believe in it. And the ones that don't believe in it are the ones that the ones that believe in it start not believing in it, and they meet in the middle. You see, because when the ones that what they call the shut eyes, they believe in it, they're trying to make a living, and they start cutting corners, and they start thinking money rather than. So they still believe in it, but sort of. I don't know. The magicians, they write about cold reading, and nobody does that. At psychic fairs, there's not a single person that does cold reading, unless it happens to be a magician that decides to come in and. In fact, they're horrified by it. When they hear about it, they get brittle, and if you call them a fortune teller, they're really brittle. They hate to be called fortune tellers. I became much more okay. When I was a Svengali pitchman, when I was doing that, I still do it. I was evil, wicked, and mixing with all evil people. Blackpool's a den of evil anyway. And so a hardened, unscrupulous grafter, working to crowds in front of. Didn't blink an eyelid at it. Then I started doing psychic readings. It's different. It softened me up. It's very difficult to explain. When you're doing readings, you're trying to help the people.
Yeah.
They're in trouble, and you try to help them. Big magicians, they don't understand it. They don't. Because they're doing 5-minute readings and parties, and that's not the same thing. What I do is different. So it softened me up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I got a psychic.
And you know, I can imagine that you have helped a lot of people. If people are coming to you for advice and you're able to, you know, use those skills to help them.
I try. I can't run my own bloody life.
Well,
but it's a different thing altogether. You read their palm, you see what's on the lines, and the tarot cards tell you things. It's hard to explain. Magicians don't know anything about it. That's all I'm saying. They have no idea what it entails. It's like me talking about plumbing. I know nothing about plumbing. But so they don't know anything about science.
Yeah.
Ignore every word they say. Just ignore them. They don't know what it's about.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, there's a lot of magicians in the community that like to think they're experts at everything.
Well, yeah, including myself. I've written a whole chapter on I wrote a book called Streetwise Tarot, explaining how it all works, and there's an entire chapter on the ethics of it. And it's kind of ironic. I'm this crooked grafter. You know, I make gangsters. I've met with rogues and vagabonds all my life. So the psychic business is different. It's made me nice and kind and lovely.
That's great. I can tell you enjoy it. What's your favorite thing to do, Mark? What's your favorite thing at the kid? I saw you post recently about how you're getting a bit fed up with kid shows, which I'm not surprised that you're almost 80. I'm 47, and I can sometimes just look at it and I can go, I don't want to do another kid show. I'm tired.
Well, it's because it's not because of the show. it's me. My problem is Canada is very cold for a start. So in the winter, I don't like to do shows in the winter because it's really cold here. And I don't drive. I can do all these wonderful things. I don't know how to drive. Can't understand things like that. I learned to drive in Dublin. You have to have somebody in the car with you. You know, if you're a learner driver. And I never had anybody in the car to practice with it. And so I never did learn to. So I have to go somehow get there by bus or by train. And it's not easy. So that's why I get fed up doing it. So the travel. But I do a damn good kid show when I get there. The kid shows. So which one do I like the best? Maybe the kid shows are the thing I like the best. Although it's complaining about it, but it's kid shows are great. Yeah, kids there's not everybody likes it, not everybody can do it, but I like the kids shows. I think
Like about performing for kids is they are 100% honest. If they like you, they will tell you. If they don't like you, you're going to find out very, very quickly. You know, for adults, and they're going to be polite and they're going to be nice, even if they don't like you.
Not unless they're drunk.
Unless they're drunk, yeah. But kids, they have no filter. They are going to tell you exactly what. Well, you'll know because they'll just walk off. You know, you're doing a show and they don't like it. They're just going to get up and go.
But you're in with a big advantage with kids because even they love magic. They love you. They get very excited to see the show. They don't know you're crap. If you are, they won't know until you start. But you're in with a big advantage. They love a magician. And the key with a kids show is to make them laugh. Some magicians, especially over here, they try to amaze the kids, or like you doing trying. The thing is with kids is to make them laugh. And just the British system of pantomime, back and forth. Kids shows are actually, I found kids shows easy to do. Some people would find them difficult. You know, it's all a matter of your personality, your temperament. I actually, from the very beginning, I just found them very easy to do. Weren't hard at all. Psychic readings were very hard. God, that was very tough to learn for me. But other people might have picked it up more quickly. You know.
Yeah.
So that's.
Imagine. I mean, I imagine. You know, depending on how you're doing the psychic readings, there's a lot to learn. So it would be harder to pick up. Like you've got tarot, you need to know what every card means, and I can imagine that would be tough.
Yeah, well, there's a new Joe Riding. I don't know if you knew him, but he.
Joe, I knew. I remember. I watched him perform several times. I never saw him do any readings. Saw him do some cold reading, some palm reading.
Yeah.
Saw him lecture once. Had his videotape. Do you remember Vic Pinto Tricker Tape? I had his.
Yeah, I remember. But he wrote a book, Joe Riding, on the tarot. Small book, £25 it was. It's quite expensive, but it's only thousands of dollars. And he explained he had a mnemonic, a memory system for remembering each card. And within a week, you can actually learn how to read the tarot cards. In my book, my book on the tarot, I based on the memory. My memory system is based on Joe Riding's memory system, and you can actually learn how to do the tarot in 1 week. I started off in Ireland. It was a little more like a bloody magic show than it was it was more like a magic show than a spiritual session, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Half an hour. It was a half-hour reading. Now I do an hour. But it was half an hour reading. I've been doing stupid things like I won't go into right now. It wasn't as genuine as it could have been, you know. But then, and I was reading palms, which that was actually very accurate. That was the best part of my reading palms. When I got Joe Riding's book on the tarot card, my business skyrocketed. When I started to learn the psychic, the tarot cards, it was very good. And a psychic fair promoter once said to me, strongest combination of a reading is palm and tarot combined. I do that. I read the palm. By the time I've read somebody's palm, they don't have to say a word. I know all about them. I just know about it. shows me on the hand what the problems are, everything it is, and I do the I Ching to double check on each thing. But then before I know all about them, they don't know that I know about them, because the palm has told me. So when I do the tarot cards, it's a lot easier because I know what's on their mind, because the hand has told me what's on their mind. You see, and it's always very accurate, and hundreds of comments about my. I've been doing the readings a long time, and people. I've got a good reputation as a psychic reader. It took me a long time to learn. And I had to read a book on counseling. I read a book on astrology. I used to write the horoscopes for the Irish newspapers, which were a whole load of bunk, actually. But yeah, one newspaper was at the Limerick Post. I used to write the horoscopes, and I got fed up writing them. So I phoned them up and said, I don't want to do it anymore. And they said, oh, don't worry, we'll just mix them up. We'll just put the old ones back in again. I thought it was funny. But no. It's been, I got a lot of publicity doing readings in Ireland. I was on because it's very few psychics were over there at the time. Came to Canada, there's hundreds of them under the bed, you know. But in Ireland, there wasn't many, so I got famous fairly quickly, getting full-page newspaper articles, two-page newspaper articles, television and radio, especially radio. And yeah, I got known very quickly. Ireland is a good place to get known quickly because it's a small population. Yeah. And funny, a tiny little country like that is a place to make money. Well, so they say. I don't know what it's like now, but it's supposed to be a poor country when I was there. But I keep reading on the internet now, one of the richest countries in Europe. Although Irish people disagree with me, so that's a joke. Not true. They're probably trying to keep it secret. But so that's it.
Well, I want to talk about something else if we can very quickly, because obviously
my hearing's not good. What did you say?
Sorry, no, I want to talk about something else very quickly, because obviously you and I met in person for the first time at the auditions for America's Got Talent. Ryland was there auditioning, and you were also there auditioning.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the America's Got Talent?
I think I can now. I mean, I know they've got rules and regulations you mustn't talk about. I've done it now.
Because I'll just to give people a frame of reference that are watching this. Me and Ryland turned up, and he was auditioning, and we got there on your final day. So our first day in the hotel was the day that you were checking out, and
that's right.
Over to you, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a big fan." And I introduced you to Ryland, and Ryland had a picture taken with you. And
I saw you getting in the elevator. I thought, that looks like Petty. It can't be him. Well, it was. Go ahead.
I'll tell you something, though. After you left,
a
lot of the people that I'd spoken to, acts that were there when you were there, and stayed, obviously when we were there, for the next couple of days, people were talking about how amazing your act was and how you got 4 standing ovations, and everybody thought you were fantastic and you were really funny. And some of the crew were like, "Did you meet Mark Lewis?" And I'm like, "Well, I know him." And I said hello briefly. But obviously, we never ended up seeing that footage.
Well, I know it annoyed me, because I would have understood it if it had died a death, or 2 judges didn't like it or something. All right, but got 4 yeses from the judges, a standing ovation, and they didn't. And then there was a conversation that I had with the producer by email, discussing what material I was going to do for the semi-final, and like, there must have been on his mind. And then I got a message the judges decided not to know. I don't think it's to do with the judges. I think it's more the producer that makes a decision. I don't know. There's something went wrong somewhere. I don't know what it is. Maybe I was grumbling too much about the play. I don't know. I've no idea. Something happened. I've got a slight suspicion of something. I won't I won't. There was one incident which makes me wonder. May have had something to do with it, but I won't discuss that here with you.
Okay.
Well, that's been, to the whole world. I might tell you privately, but I won't tell you in front of everybody.
Sure.
But something happened. Anyway, I don't know why, but then maybe. But I think I've had one or two reports of other people the same thing has happened to, where they've done well, but they weren't. The John Kimmons, he said he did well, standing ovation. He didn't put him on, and one or two. Maybe it's just maybe they get a whole pile of people, go through them, and just decide, oh well, he's wearing the wrong color tie or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. It just. I was surprised that it wasn't even shown. It wasn't. It just.
Yeah.
They never showed the damn thing. There was one. There's another thing which may have had something to do with it. I don't know. I'm only taking a guess here. This is not the incident. I'll tell you privately, but I don't really watch the show. I never did. I don't even know who the bleeding judges are. I don't know. I don't watch it. Right? And the few times I had watched, I used to think, what a bloody somehow it looked so fake to me. So, but anyway, that's another story. So because I don't watch the show. I don't know who it's who. I don't know. I did not know who Terry Crews was. I did not know who the female judges were. I knew who Simon Cowell was, obviously. And I knew who, what's his name?
Harry Mandel.
What's his bloody name? Howie Mandel. Because
he's from Canada. So.
I know, yeah. And I knew him because I saw him having a heart attack in a hotel once, but that's another story. I was yards from him, yards away, and I didn't know who he was. And people said, oh, that's Howie Mandel. Yeah, that's Howie Mandel. So I assumed that was him, who was having a heart attack. But anyway, so just before I go on, Terry Crews comes up to me, and I didn't know who he was. I thought he was one of the production staff. And he comes over bubbling away, and I don't know what's being told. I don't know that I'm even on camera. How are you? And blah, blah. And I said, oh, fine. And they said, what do you think of America's going on like this? And who's your favorite judges? And who's your favorite judge? I said, I don't really watch the show. I don't really know. I said, I don't even know who they are.
That's brilliant. That's awesome.
I didn't know his whole things on camera. So I don't really know who they were. I said, I know who Simon Cowell. I don't really know. So anyway, so that wasn't. I may have said something else. I have no idea. I said watch this, but I don't really know much about it. Not something. I just didn't know who he was. So they probably that was on camera. And I think the judges can see what's going on off stage, because when I came on, and I was talking to that Heidi, she said, "I'm Heidi, by the way." They must have known that I didn't know who the hell they were, and but unbeknown to me, while I went on, the producer goes running up to, you met Corey,
yes.
Who was with me, that girl. They got to don't tell you. You've got to control them. Don't let them say these things. I don't know what they said to her. And after I did my bit, said, we love your personality and everything's good, but don't say anything negative about the show. They said. So it may have been that. I don't know. And I just said I don't read, but still, it got a standing ovation. And I thought, well, maybe they'll let it get out about Terry Crews. I saw speculation. Maddie Gilbert says to me, oh, it's probably because you were being too grumpy or something. I don't know. But then on the other hand, it may just be a matter of them collecting hundreds of acts and then deciding who they're going to show and whatever. I don't know what happened. But you had a good feedback after I left from people.
Yeah. People really liked what you did. Yeah, I spoke to so many people that said they really, really enjoyed your act. So, which I didn't hear from many other people. So about many other people. So that's
weird. Who knows what goes on in the? But yeah. And then I actually got I won't tell you the result of it. But then I got a message from on LinkedIn from Canada's Got Talent. Would you like to come on our show? I said, your timing is awful. I said, I had a very bad experience down in America, complete bloody waste of time. I said, but if you can persuade me, by all means, call me tomorrow and see what mood I'm in, if I'm in a good mood or not. And I won't comment any further on Canada's Got Talent at the moment.
Well, I'll wait with bated breath. I'm not gonna ask questions. But other than, what did you do in the audition? Was it the Svengali?
The Svengali deck.
Of course you would. Why wouldn't you? Yeah,
that's what they wanted. They because the reason I got on the show in the first place was when a video went viral of me doing the Svengali deck, got 26 million views. So somebody on America's Got Talent saw it and they contacted me. That was the reason. So I discussed with them what trick. They want to know what tricks can you do or something. And they wanted me to do the Svengali deck. So that's what I did. So I thought, well, I know that. They're asking me, are you nervous about? Are you? I said, well, I'm nothing to be nervous. I've been doing the bloody trick a million times. What am I supposed to be nervous about? It's like automatic. I remember on 3 or 4 occasions in my life, I've actually been grafting all night in my dreams and taking in money, working hard. I'm furious when I wake up and find I can't spend the money I've taken. I'm just thinking, I'm dreaming, I'm taking money, I'm working hard, I'm tired. I wake up, I'm furious. I thought, I can't spend this money. It was a dream. But that's the story there. But so that's the America's Got Talent episode.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, I want to ask you a couple more questions.
Okay.
Before we finish. So the first one is, you've mentioned several books that you've written. Now, obviously, I'm only aware of the long and short of it. What other books have you written, and are they available for people to buy?
Well, on my website, I've got a crappy website, which I should have taken down years ago. But the reason I keep it going, it's completely out of date. Talk about how you can order things on cassette tapes. My mentalism would show, which I don't even do. But I keep the website going because of the books that are, that are on there, so they can order books for me. I've written 7 books. The long and the short of it, Marmaduke the Wonder Mouse, they're the pitching books, but they're small, they're more booklets, 20, 40 pages or something. But then the Lives of a Showman is a book, my memoir.
Okay.
It's sold quite well. Lives of a Showman. One cynical magician said the letter V should be left out of the word live. The lies of a showman. No, but everything in it is true. The Lives of a Showman. That's part of 300 or so pages on my memoir. That's 3 books. What the hell? The annotated Royal Road to Card Magic. I've taken the Royal Road to Card Magic and I've annotated it with my annotations. There's some very good comments. That's 4 books. 3 more. The Royal Road to Stage Hypnotism. That's 5 books. Streetwise Tarot is 6 books. What the hell? Oh, and my last book was The Wit and Wisdom of Mark Lewis, which is basically posts I've made on the internet and annoying people. It was originally an ebook, but now, but amongst it's full of me causing trouble on the internet. Also, a lot of good wisdom in there. My bongo hat routines in there, and how to repeat routine. There's some good information on that. So those are the 7 books I've written. So,
what is the website? So if they're still available to buy, because I want to go and get them.
Yeah, all right. The website is marklewisentertainment.com.
Okay.
It's a crappy website. It won't get me any bookings, but it does sell me some books. See all my books there.
That's great.
Listed on there. Where it says for magicians only. So that's where the books are put up.
That's amazing. Wow. Wow. Okay, I didn't even know that you did that many, but I wasn't even aware. I didn't.
I should have actually been a writer. That's what I should have been. From the very beginning, I should not have done show business. I should not have done graphic. And you're right to starve as well. But no, I should have done more writing, actually. People like my writing style. The book I wrote in Hypnotism, do you know a guy on the internet, Danny Doyle, on the Magic Cafe? Does it ring a bell?
Yeah, the name rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always arguing and disagreeing and fighting with everybody on the internet.
Yeah.
I've argued with him for years on about hypnotism. I went down to he's what's the word? He's a stage hypnotist, and he's got already had. I don't know what he's doing now. Very good businessman, and he hired people from Mexico. You know, he had resorts in Mexico. So I went down to Mexico working for him for 8 weeks. And we used to talk about hypnotism. I wasn't, he was, I wasn't doing hypnotism there, but he was. And we used to argue. You'd say, well, I said, there's no such bloody thing as hypnotism. I don't believe it exists. Well, you don't understand the process, he says, all this. And I've argued with him for years on the internet, fighting with him over. Remember, he wrote the foreword for this, my little book on hypnotism. He's reluctantly agreed it's a good. He doesn't. He still doesn't agree with me that there's no such thing as hypnotism. But I think he does really. I think he's come round, but he's not admitting it. But
well, mentioned this at the beginning. Like, one of my favorite things about you, and one of my first experiences of you, is just watching how amazingly awesome you have always been on the internet, and now Facebook, message boards, the old Talk Magic forums, the Magic Bunny forums, just systematically
causing trouble.
Well, no, you get into an argument,
and
you just always win. Like, you just, nobody could ever, like, it was amazing to see. I'd study it and just watch and just sit back and go, well, I know how this is going to go. Let's see how quick it happens. Like, it was fantastic, really. Like, did you, when you were arguing on the internet, like were you doing it just because you wanted to mess with people, or was it out of boredom, or was it out of genuinely wanting to discuss that? Like, what was the thought process behind
it? Maybe a bit of everything. Well, okay. I don't like magicians. That's basically that's the core of it all. Obviously, I like some magicians, some of them I like, but I was not treated very well when I was young by a magician. You know, Patrick Page, bloody Alan Allen, all those horrible people, right? They were probably nice, and they've turned me into just like them, you know, rude and nasty and horrible too. But so I never liked magicians, and also what was bothering me, I would show tricks to laymen, and they go, "Hail, Mother of God!" and they want to build a religion in my name, and you know, worship me and down on the knees. I show the same tricks to laymen, to magicians, no reaction. They wouldn't react. It bothered me. It annoyed me. So ever since then, I don't like magicians. So that's part of it, you see. And the second part of it is that I never attack anybody unless they attack me first. Never. I just be my normal self. Somebody disagrees with me, and how can they disagree with me? I'm Mark Lewis. I can't do that. So I answer them back. Then all hell breaks loose. And then the devil in me takes over. I'm partly boredom, partly winding them up. And it's the clever ones, the sharp ones, the ones like you that realize it's all a bloody wind up, you know. It's not hard to see it as a wind up. And they must be as dim as it must be their egos or something that they can't see the whole thing as a wind up. But I like to think that there's some wisdom in my wind ups. You know, I'm not just a troll. I know a lot about things, and that's hard for them to handle. You know, So but I'm probably mellowing now that I'm getting older. I'm getting old and dead soon, so I'm not quite as vicious as I used to be. Um, it comes from grafting. Grafters are like me. You know, we get fed up with the people in the crowd. You know, there was a guy, the guy in Birmingham I was telling you about that had the crooked arrangement with the mall there, the bull ring. The man. I still remember him. Um, he'd have a crowd round. It was in Glasgow. This guy pitching something, and he said, and because nobody was buying anything, and people, the women trying to walk away, he was getting annoyed with this crowd. And he'd say, and he would say, "Well, it's nice to be here in Glasgow, England." And he knew that would annoy the Scots. You know, Glasgow, England is an insult. So this woman, who was trying to walk away, said, "I don't think that's funny." Oh no, he said to her, "Madam, you are an idiot. Turn around and show everyone what an idiot looks like." You see, not very nice. So she got mad and said, "I don't think that's funny, and I walk away when I want to walk away." He says, "Madam, 2,000 years ago, they nailed a man to a cross. He didn't like it either, but at least he stayed there." So 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 that was it. So that's what grafters are like. So she ran, mind you, half an hour later, she went to the organising management complaint. Half an hour later, he was no longer an exhibitor at the Glasgow Ideal Homes exhibition. But I won't mention his name. He's dead and gone now. But yeah, those are the characters that you know, that's you become like them when you're mixing with them all the time. You know,
Yeah.
the tendency. So magicians are in front of me like a red rag to a bull. I'm actually, if I'm dealing, if people are not magicians, I'm the opposite. I'm nice and kind to them. I figure that out.
Go figure, right?
Yeah. Well, you should know that you, from what I understand, you get attacked a lot by magicians.
Oh, I get a lot of crap. I get a lot of it. So I know,
You
yeah,
know,
a lot.
well, the thing is, it's a sign you're growing. When people know. I've always said the most criticized person in the entire world is always, no matter who's in power, is the president of the United States. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
which one. They're all criticized. It's like it doesn't. So, but they wouldn't be criticized if they weren't the president. See? So you wouldn't be criticized if you weren't of some significance. Same as me. If you're of some significance, you're going to get criticized. Or
Yeah.
so there's not a single famous magician, not a single one doesn't get torn apart by other magicians. Every single one. David Nixon they used to criticize, Shank and Astor, David Copperfield, Chris Angel, certainly. But whoever they are, they're going to get torn to pieces because they've made it. You know, they're up there to be
I
torn to
think
pieces.
there is a certain amount of jealousy in the magic community.
Just a little bit, yes.
Just a little bit. I've seen, I've seen people at conventions. I've sat
Yeah.
watching the gala show, watching the close-up show or something,
Yeah.
and I've sat in the audience and I've listened to the people around me going, "Why is he there? I could do that better than him." I don't see why he's got this opportunity and I haven't. I could do that trick better than him. And I think that's just not always, but I think a lot of the time, that's the kind of attitude that magicians have. It's kind of a case of, I could be that person if I'm given the opportunity. The problem is, and you know this as well as me, the reason you are where you are is because you've worked bloody hard to get there. And a lot of magicians are very lazy and they don't want to work hard and they expect
and
stuff.
Some of them are not very good, most of them are not very good. I've seen hundreds of magicians in my life, and the percentage of falling ones is extremely high. There are some good ones, but maybe 20% of the people I see are good, but 80% of them are awful, and not very. I just that's just me being biased. I don't know. No, I can't get excited about what you know. And also, they don't treat the art of magic properly. It's an art to me. It's an art form, and whatever. But maybe the same things happen in photography and kill me. I don't know. I have this terrible thing about magicians. It's not fair, and it's not correct. And I know I shouldn't have this attitude. I just don't like them. I don't. Generally speaking, it's like a red. If they're a magician, it's constant grafting. And I'd be selling a Svengali dish, and somebody in the crowd, a magician, could spell my mile off. Well, they wanted. I'd be automatically unfriendly. Automatically, it's like a reflex action. And I think a lot of pitchmen, who Svengali pitchmen are actually, it's just something about the business. You're there. You got a different mentality. They want to talk to you, or they want to. I don't know. It's in the end, none of it's important anyway. Think about what's going on right now, you know. But no, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you one last question, Mark.
Yes.
Which is, you mentioned that you're almost 80.
Don't remind me. Don't remind me. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
That's horrendous. How can I be that bloody old? I'm 79. That's horrendous.
But
every day nearer my coffin, it's horrendous. What you say?
But you work harder than pretty much most magicians that I know. You're constantly posting about going out and doing shows, or going to this event, or pitching, or doing a psychic reading. You're always busy. And
well, I get bored doing nothing. If I do nothing, I'll go crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Is there anything, I suppose the question I've got to ask you is there anything left that you want to achieve in the industry? I mean, 7 books, literally the leading expert when it comes to many subjects, traveled the world, making a living doing what you love, which I know you say sometimes, wish I'd not pitched. But I've met a lot of people that are 60 years old, 70 years old. They've been in a job that they've hated their entire life, where they have to get up in the morning, go to work, a job they hate, come back, and then just sit there waiting for it to happen every single day for the rest of their life. And they wish they could turn back the clock, and they haven't. You know, you've not done that. You've led a very exciting life, and you've achieved a lot along the way.
Doesn't feel like it. That's a funny part.
Yeah. 7 books, leading expert. You know, America's Got Talent came knocking for you. You know, that's true. Like, is there anything else that you want to do, or are you kind of like, you know what, I'm happy with where things?
Well, I'm not. I think I've done it all wrong. If I had my life all over again, I'd do it differently. How about that?
Really? What would you do?
I wouldn't do it. It's been hard. It's been tough. Yeah. It's hard work. You know, it's stressful. It's been a nightmare. It's not. I could just pretend and, you know, oh, I'm wonderful. Everything's great in the world. And, you know, it's been hell on bloody earth. My life's been a waste of pissing time. But here I am. I've achieved. The main thing I've achieved is I've accumulated a lot of knowledge. Yeah. That's about it. And I've made some people happy. Many people happy with. I suppose that's what I've achieved. A lot of people have had joy, or they've had some benefit from my readings. They get benefit. Once we do magic, they laugh. The kids love me, and What's the story about Grimaldi the clown? You know that story?
Don't know.
No. Someone, well, I'm trying to remember now. The story of Grimaldi the clown. There's a very famous. I think this story is supposed to be about Grimaldi. It might have been out there in other places. It's an old story. We'll call it Grimaldi. Grimaldi the clown was a famous circus clown. Make people laugh all the time. Okay. Anyway, so a guy comes into the doctor's office saying, "Doctor, I'm depressed, I'm upset, I'm sick, I'm fed up, miserable. What do I do, doctor?" The doctor says, "Well, you should go to the circus and see Grimaldi the clown." And the guy says, "I am Grimaldi the clown." You know?
Yeah.
So that's me. I'm Grimaldi the clown.
Wow. Yeah. I understand.
Well, you see things on the surface, always look beneath the surface. Things aren't always what they seem. And go on if you take a shrewd look on the internet at the forget about me for the moment. You look on the internet and see people posting, the ones that are bragging, they're doing so well, this, that, and the other. Look beneath the surface. It's not as good as they're pretending.
Well, that's the problem with social media.
Yeah.
You can portray a life that you wish you had.
Yeah.
And it's generally a lot of the time not the life that you are leading. But the problem is other people will read it and feel bad about what they're doing because they see somebody else and question why they aren't at that level or they haven't done what that person has. And magicians are like the worst for it, you know.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, how much do you charge? Well, you know, whatever they say, divide it by 3 a lot of the time. You know, it's
well, Jay Marshall used to say, to work out what a magician is making, what they divide what they claim by 2 and subtract $50. You'll get the right yes. Pretty which I thought was funny. But no, you read about they're doing well, but they're not doing. But you look beneath the surface, and I was reading a book lately. Best business book I've ever read. Have you ever heard of Felix Dennis? Not a magician. He's a billionaire. He died. He wrote a book, How to Get Rich, and he gives terrific advice about it. He became a really very, very wealthy. And he explained about, you know, how he made his money and how he got to it. This is how you can do it. He advises people not to try. Don't try to be rich. It says it will ruin your life. But then he explains how you go about making money if you really want to. But he said, don't. He says, I can't make you happy. He said, don't try and be happy. He said, you will not be happy. He says, I know very few wealthy people who are happy. So so it's the same as look beneath the surface. Is, you know, what's on the surface isn't necessarily what's underneath. You know, so don't make opinions of what you read. You might in life. Sometimes you meet nasty people, horrible people who are very nice underneath. But the opposite applies. Sometimes you meet charming people who are real bastards underneath. You can never judge, really. So that's my philosophy.
That's a good philosophy. It really is.
Whatever.
And I know you said that you do things differently, but you have had an impact on a lot of people, and there's a lot of. I imagine most people that are watching this wish they'd done what you've done and had the life that you've had. On the surface,
I might think of change places, but it's bloody horrible. You're working in a bloody market. The wind's raining, and then somebody throws a knife at you because your crowd is too big, and then you're working for like nobody's getting the money out. You're sick of the sight of everybody. It's not always easy. And psychic readings, you hear some terrible stories, and actually, maybe that's why kids shows are good. Kids shows, it's all joys. It's a hassle getting there. Sometimes it's a hassle getting paid. They do fucking daycares in Toronto. Half the time they're supposed to pay me on the day, and then 2 months later you get the money. So nothing's perfect in business. Well, not that I'm the complaining type, of course.
But the kids always have a great time, you know.
I like the kids. I know some magicians, a lot of magicians don't like it. Some like doing it, some hate doing it. Have you ever done kids shows?
Oh, hundreds. Yeah.
You do them, and
I hate it that there's certain members of the magic community that just look down and on kids entertainers like they're the lowest of the low, and that really annoys me.
Well, I've always said I've always said that the most lucrative branch of magic is the humble, or in my case, not so humble, children's entertainer. It's not the other. If you're a trade show magician or a hypnotist or whatever, you get good money, you get big money, but you may only, it's not as frequent, not as reliable. Kids entertainers are working every week, every day. They can do as many shows as they want. If somebody's got a knack for it, I would say that is a very good. It's not a bad option to take. Children's entertainment. The kids' entertainers who should be looking down on the other people Because the kids' entities are the ones that are making the money. Oh, here's a sorry, go on.
No, go on. You go first. Go on.
Oh, I'll tell you. This reminds me of something. Did you ever meet Roy Walton in Glasgow?
Never met him, but obviously,
you've heard of him.
Very aware of him. Yeah.
But yeah, he used to run the magic shop in Glasgow, Cam Shepherd's trick shop. I used to go into it when I was a kid, and when I was in Glasgow, I'd go into the shop, and he told me something quite interesting. You know how professional magicians look down on the amateurs? He looked down on the professionals. I remember that. He said, "Oh, I can't see these professional magicians. I'm here bragging, and I don't care." He says, "I don't care what they've been doing." I thought it was very refreshing the way he actually looked down on them. He thought that they were, not. There's a guy who made me laugh. What's his name? I forgot. Elliot. Somebody, can't remember his damn name. An American. He was an amateur, well known. I think he was quite wealthy in his own work, and he was an amateur magician. And he used to say, "Don't forget, it was professionals who built the Titanic." That was his response to people that were bragging they were professional. So I get it. No, it's interesting.
Yeah, it really. Totally agree with you, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of magicians out there that, as I say, look down on kids entertainers, and kids entertainers would perform circles around anybody.
I know. Most of them can do adult shows as well.
Yeah, they can.
Here's a funny thing. I bumped into Trevor Lewis once at a train station, and he gave me a bit of wisdom. I didn't realize. I always thought he was a professional magician, did nothing else.
Yeah, that's
you've heard of him, Trevor Lewis.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I always thought, well, he's a professional magician, doesn't do anything else. But then he told me that he was his real job was on the boats between Ireland and England on the ferries. He was an engineer. He was an engineer on the ferries. That was his regular job, his regular work. I said, I thought you were a professional. So he said something to me, which I've always remembered. He said, being a magician is a very good icing, but a lousy cake. I thought, there's a wisdom in that. That was his argument for being a semi-professional. It's a very good icing, magic, but it's a lousy cake. And there's nothing wrong with being a professional, but that's another a good argument for being a semi-professional. It's good icing, lousy cake. So, I've got bits of lousy cake and bits of lousy icing. I don't know.
Well, again, I completely agree with you. You know what? Are you ever planning on coming back to the UK, like at any point? Like,
I keep saying when the winter comes in Toronto, I think, let me get out of here. I want to go back to England. But I never do. I've been saying this for the last 15 years. I'm going back to England, but I keep thinking, should I go to Blackpool this year?
Yeah, to the magic convention. I'd love to see you there.
I'm tempted to go to Blackpool for the convention. I love Blackpool. The best. I've lived in many cities and many towns. The place I love the best, it's grubby old Blackpool. Miles better than Vegas. I like Blackpool. I always did. They tell me it's changed now. It's not as good as it used to be, but I think it probably is.
Blackpool's great. Blackpool's amazing.
Would you live in up northern England somewhere?
Well, I live in the Midlands. I've lived in
the Midlands,
but there's a place in Blackpool called the House of Secrets, owned by Russ Brown, who's one of the
wasn't the House of Secrets. I think the House of Secrets was there in Blackpool when I was there. How long have they been running?
It was a shop originally, and Russ opened the House of Secrets bar a couple of years ago, and I believe he called
Russ Stevens.
Russ Brown.
He's Russ Brown.
One of the co-organizers, not Russ Stevens. Works closely with Russ Stevens, but
yeah,
name's Russ Brown. But he opened a magic bar a couple of years ago. Theatre, small stage. Really,
I didn't know that.
Kind of a speakeasy type thing, right next to the Winter Gardens. and it's very popular, and it's always busy, and it holds about 50 people. Ryland is one of the resident performers there, so every month he's probably up there about 5 or 6 times a week, normally on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, going out and perform. So we take lots of family holidays up to Blackpool because Ryland gets up there to perform all the time. So we'll go up and we'll rent a house for a few days, and every night he'll perform, and we'll go out and do stuff.
Well, that reminds me, because you asked me the question, what would I any last ambition? I would like some permanent, just like a little magic theater or some where I could go in and perform. Sometimes I could do a pitch show, sometimes I could do a hypnotism show, and rent or buy or something. But I don't. The marketing I wouldn't know how to get people in. That's the only thing. I have no idea how the internet or how you do that. But maybe one day I'll do something like that. That's my
Are there any magic venues in Canada where you're at? I know.
There's a few people doing it, but I don't know. Yeah. I suppose the other thing I would like to do more of, I do have one last ambition, which I've always wanted to do, but I never knew how to do it. I'd like to be on television more. I've been on television a few times in my life. It's always been my favorite medium. Maybe that's why I'm doing these YouTube videos now. This thing. Television, I was the first. Here's a funny thing. I'm a historic figure in magic. I'll tell you why. I was the first. This is something I can brag about. I was the first magician in Britain to appear on color television.
Wow.
Not that great, but it's some. The truth of the matter is, I was working at this was in the days of the black and white television. I was working for Ron McMillan at the Ideal Homes exhibition in London, the Daily Mail Ideal Homes exhibition. And the BBC had a big, massive booth in a television studio. It was like a miniature television studio at the Ideal Homes exhibition. And this was in the days of black and white television. And color television was about to be introduced to the British public. Okay? And so a guy from the BBC comes up to me, wants me to do my card trick, says, would you like to come on every day in our TV studio, do 15 minutes every day of the Ideal for 4 weeks? Well, the exhibition's on for 4 weeks. I said, well, how much do I get? I said, well, I'm working here. I can't come away from Macmillan Stan. They said, it's only 15 minutes you have to do. You can let you away for 15 minutes. I said, I suppose I could. So how much do I get paid? He said, you don't get paid anything. I said, well, I don't really want to do it if I'm not getting paid anything. So I can be earning money here. He says, yes, but you'll make history. I said, why? He says, well, you'll be the first magician on color television in Britain to do this. So I felt that's how he conned me. But it's true. And every day I went to that little studio, did 15 minutes, was on color. And I was the first magician on color television in Britain. It was the only people that could see the program will be visitors to the Ideal Home exhibition. They could look through the window, they could watch the monitor, and they'd see the program. It was an indoor. But yeah, I was the first magician, and I learned a lot about television when I was doing that month. Was very useful to me. I think the key to working on television, from my bit of experience, is to think to yourself, I own the place. Don't be completely relaxed and don't care and don't not be too. I've seen a few people being too, what's the word, over the top, which is good for a stage. They're a little bit too loud, a little bit too energetic. But it's like David Nixon was a good example. He would be nice and quiet and gentle, and he was a master of television because it's an intimate medium. And I've been on television a few times. In Ireland, I was on the Late Late Show doing magic, and that created I was recognized in the street for a whole week. All the magicians got annoyed about it, but that's another story. They were upset. They were supposed to be on the me, but I'll tell you the story very, very quickly. I was doing a kids show in Manchester, an exhibition, and you must know Jimmy Cricket. the comedian.
Yeah.
Right. You probably don't know this, but Jimmy Cricket used to work for Ron McMillan as well. You know,
No, I didn't know that.
yeah. Jimmy Cricket even worked for me. He worked in selling Svengali decks in Rob's of Belfast. Real name is Jimmy Mulgrew. The store used to phone me up complaining about him, saying he's no good. He doesn't make any money. So I've known him for years. Jimmy Mulgrew, Jimmy Cricket. So Jimmy Cricket comes to see him in the audience when I'm doing the sketch show. He comes up to me afterwards, and he says, "When you get to," I said, "I'm going to Ireland next week." He says, "When you go to Ireland, try to get on the Late Show, which is their big show, their big chat show, the most biggest show in Ireland." So I thought, "Oh, all right, I'll do that. I'll get in touch with them." I went on the plane going over to Dublin. I think I'm a bit shy really by nature. I don't really want to call up the late television. I'm too embarrassed by it. And I talked myself out of the whole thing on the plane, you see. But there was a magic meeting that night at the Magic Club, you know. So I thought, I'll go to the Magic Club. So I get to the Magic Club, and the guy who's the host of the Late Show is a guy called Gay Byrne. He's dead now. He's in the club. He was sitting right in front of me, just in front of me, and he was the guy that he was there to pick out magicians for the Late Show, you see. Right. And he was getting fed up with being up at the audience all the time. So I said to him very quietly, I said, "I was going to try to come to see you today. Jimmy Cricket told me to come and see you." He said, "What about?" I said, "Well, I'm a professional magician, you know, not an amateur magician. Yes, I'm a professional. And I wanted to come." And he says, "All right, phone up my secretary. We'll come and see me tomorrow. We'll do so." So I just said it very quietly. So another magician overheard this. You know how they get jealous and getting, and then the word got around that I was on the show, and I was booked to appear in the Late Show. So he did not book any of the magicians at the Magic Club, where I was not a member. So they found the magicians heard about this, and they were furious. The local magicians in Dublin, they were annoyed, and I went to their convention. They were trying to ignore me. They wouldn't speak to me, and they're making speeches about, "Oh, you'll see better magicians here than you will at the Late Show," and stuff like that, having digs at me. But I was actually innocent. I just happened to, Jimmy Cricket told me to, and he's right in front of me, what I'm supposed to do. So I asked him, and so that's how magicians can get annoyed. So, but it was a sensation for a week. People on the street recognized me, and so that's why I like television. Television is good.
Yeah, it is. And you see more magic on television now than ever before. Like it's on every country. You know, there's a lot of magic, and
they seem to be having quite a bit. Yeah, so maybe I should try to go on television. I would not want to do anything like the what do you call it, the America's Got Talent, but that's not proper television. That's more of a movie set. You're there all day, and you have to go through all these rigmarole and sign contracts. You're not getting paid for any of this. Sign contracts and work. Whereas every time I've done a proper television show, you show up, and then an hour later you're on you have a little rehearsal, and it's over, and they don't ask you all these filling all these forms in, and COVID, and you mustn't say a word, and you mustn't say. Sonny, the bit that made me, I shouldn't really talk about that, but the bit that made me laugh was the big long contract saying, if we make you mentally ill, it's not our fault. Something like that. It said. I don't know if you ever saw that, but it says if as a result of being on the show, you could maybe people have been criticized and upset or something. I don't know, but anyway, I better not say too much about that. But yeah. So there you go. But have you ever been on normal television shows?
It's not something I've ever really pushed for, to be honest. I did some TV back in the day. I was on the big claim to fame. I was on the Alan Titchmarsh show live.
Right.
So that was amazing. But no,
but it's like a normal television show. I don't think I don't think these got talent shows are normal television shows. It's more of a reality show. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing where you get booked.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I've got nothing. I found America's Got Talent very professional. Apart from, I mean, I'm a bit irritated because I wasn't televised, but it was actually all these horror stories I heard. I never saw any trace of it when I was there.
Me
And
neither.
nothing like it. So professionalism and you know, and I was treated very well. I can't complain about it. My beef is just a private, just because I wasn't on the bloody thing. But there's not. But the show was actually not a bad. There was no really bad experiences. You know, yeah, they didn't pay. You don't get paid, but of course you can't have everything. You know,
No, you really can't.
Ryland did well, didn't he?
Yeah, he got through to the semi-finals. He ended up in the top 5. I can't
Oh,
remember.
did he? Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so he did good. He didn't go all the way, obviously, but he was happy with what he did. He was very happy. So
What annoys me, getting this is I've been irritated about it a few times. But these idiot magicians on the internet, they attack Ireland. They attack they if they've got a beef with you, they should fight with you. But they mention Ryland, and I think it's wrong.
yeah, I've seen a lot of magicians that they tried to get to me through Ryland, and
Well, they shouldn't. That's bad.
yeah,
That's not. That's very. That's. I dislike that a lot.
so do I. But luckily, he's got a thick skin, and I
Yeah,
always say to him, I say, "You've probably achieved more at the age of 10 than
yeah.
most magicians will ever achieve in their entire
He
life."
seems very. He seems very. I don't know what the word is. Very grown up. I look at his pose. You wouldn't know it's a kid.
Oh
Very
yeah,
grown up.
he's his first professional show was at the age of 3 in a
Was it?
nursery. He did a
That's young.
he did a 35-minute show at the age of 3 years old.
Did he?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Sponge balls, die box, loads of
What?
stuff.
At 3 years old?
Yes.
That's young. That's
And his
that could get in the beginning. But you didn't did any video of it or anything? You could go in the
no,
get in the Guinness Book of Records for that.
And his first corporate show was on stage with me doing a 40-minute show together for about 850 people in a big corporate hotel, loads of, just him and me on stage performing together. And
Does he get stage fright at all or no?
Never.
Not at all. No.
Never at all. No, because he's worked almost, he's worked the London Palladium, the Royal Albert Hall. He's worked the Hammersmith Apollo, the Winter Gardens numerous times. He's a resident performer at Drayton Manor Hotel. So he's regularly performing there. He works at the House of Secrets.
Has he worked with any bad audiences? Or bound to sooner or later?
Yeah, he's had some where he's had to work really hard, but it's weird because he's 10, but he's had a lot of experience. I was talking to his mom about this as well today. He's grown up around adults, although he's got friends that are kids.
Yeah.
Grown up around adults, so he's got a head on his shoulders because he's done so much. But it's just there's no substitute for flight time, and he just performs an awful lot. And he's not really that interested in close up. He just wants to do stage, which is weird.
Stage.
Yeah. Most kids want to do close up, but he just wants to do stage. So
does he want to be a professional magician when he grows up, or?
Yeah, he does.
Or do you think he'll lose the interest at some point? Or
I've said to him, as long as he wants to carry on doing what he's doing. Him. He's got a lot of interests. A lot of people just know him for the magic, but he plays the drums. He's plays keeper in the school team for football. He skateboards. He does a lot of art. He's constantly sketching. So he really likes school. So he's really good at maths. He's got. It's not a photographic memory, but it's about as close as you can get. Like he can literally read a script, and within an hour, he can parrot it back to you perfectly. He can memorize long, complicated algorithms with Rubik's cubes. He knows 7 different ways. He knows 7 different memorized decks. You could ask him what a card is, and he can tell you what it is in Aronson, in Tamritz, in Shadow. Like,
Yeah.
he's got really
Does he
good
show tricks to his friends at school, like card tricks
No.
and close up? No. Interesting, isn't it?
He keeps it really separate from school, because at
Hmm.
school he gets frustrated because they don't understand. So he tried to talk to them about magic. He tried to teach a couple of them, and they just weren't into it. So he tends to keep it completely separate. So when he's around, magic conventions or the YMC or kids that are magic, he's totally into it. But when he's at school, he's kind of more about football and Pokemon and and that sort of thing.
When I was at school, when I was a kid at school, that's where I learned all my magic. Showing tricks to all the kids at school, card tricks on them. And that's what I got my audiences.
Well, he's lucky that he's got a lot of places that he gets to perform. So he doesn't need to do that, because he kind of has places where he kind of gets.
He's able to do.
He does get booked to do. The school always book him to do like the school, like the prom and the prom and the summer fete, or the summer fair, or the summer fun day, and the winter fun day. So he performs for all of his friends at school, but it's more in a, he's got a stage and he walks out.
So it's a stage. Yeah. So he likes the stage. Yeah.
And that's
I used to I was only interested in close-up magic, and then I realized, I thought, to make a living you've got to go on the stage. In those days there was no venue, so I went on the stage, and I worked in London nightclubs, 1 o'clock in the morning, to all the drunks. Months on end I'd be working to drunks at 1 o'clock in the morning. It was awful. I remember one place, the head waiter comes up, who said, what did he say to me now? He said, why don't you do something about your act? I said, why, is there something wrong with it? He says, well, let me put it this way. We have a regular customer that comes in every night. As soon as you come on, he goes out. When you're finished, he comes back in. So I used to die of death for working top nightclubs, not just. I was working the L'Hirondelle and the Stock Room and the terrible act, working every night. The drunks. I don't know how the hell I got through it. So that's why I don't get stage fright anymore, because the reason for getting stage fright, you're nervous it's going to die a death. I knew I was going to die of the death, so there's nothing to be scared of anymore. I've got better than that now, but I was 23 working these top nightclubs. It was a terrible act. I think I find it funny now.
I've always said, if you haven't died on your ass, then you haven't been working long enough.
That's right.
The only way you can get good is by being bad. And that, you need a play. For me, it was holiday parks. I did the holiday parks for years, and I sucked when I first started doing holiday parks. But I learned very quickly what I needed to do to get the audience's attention, and that's
but the audiences are in Canada. The audiences are much easier than the British. The British audiences are quite tough. Well, my day they certainly were. I came to Canada. I would do the same act in Canada and it would go over great. That I would do in England and it would look warm. Here they're I don't know, they maybe they treat magic a bit more like an art here. They're quite very. Canada likes when I emigrated, the guy said to me, he said, oh no, we like entertainment. He said magic is an ancient art, and so they like that sort of thing over here. He said don't apply to. He said when you apply to come to Canada, don't say it as a psychic. He says they say it as a magician. You'll do it. The most chance of getting it.
Wow.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, that really is. That's fantastic. Mark.
Okay.
I have. Yeah, I was just going to say, I've had so much fun doing this interview with you and finding out more about you. Like genuinely.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned so much that I didn't know. I didn't even know you were a stage hypnotist. Like, there's so much that you've said, and There's also a lot of value for people that have watched this interview. You know, the people that have watched this, I hope they've listened to what you've said, because a lot of what you've said has been some incredible advice. And I think if people actually listen to it and take heed of it, I think they're going to really benefit. I know it's been amazing for me, really, just genuinely. I knew that this was going to be a good interview. I knew that I was going to have fun doing it. It's actually one of my favorite interviews I've ever done.
Oh, that's nice of you to say so. When is it going to go out then?
Well, you know what? I'm
it's
put up in the next week or two. We're going to edit it straight away. I'm gonna bump everyone else and get you up as quickly as I can, because this is I want people to hear this, and I want people that are listening to this interview right now. I'm talking to you. You're listening to it right now. I'm talking to you, people that are watching this right now. I want you to do me a favor and go onto Mark's website, marklewisentertainment.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
go to the For Magicians Only section.
Go on to the Magicians Only section. I'm telling you right now, the long and short of it literally changed my life. And whether you have whether you have a desire to pitch Svengali cards or not, whether you've got a show and you want to do back of room sales, or whether you just want to learn how to use a Svengali deck properly, because honestly, when you do a professional gig, you know, you'd be amazed. You can use a Svengali deck and kill people. Yeah, 100%. Go buy that book. It literally changed my life. But I didn't even know about the other books. The first thing I'm going to do tomorrow morning, because we're filming this at 2:00 in the morning, my time, the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow morning is I'm going to go on that website and I'm going to buy every other book that you've got. And I'm going to start with the memoirs, because, you know, I feel like I've had a bit of a sneak peek during the interview, and I want to read the memoirs, because if that memoirs is literally an 1/8 or a 10th of how entertaining this interview has been.
You'll love that book, by the way. You'll love the memoirs. I haven't even mentioned the stuff that went on in Northern Ireland, the Catholics, the Protestants, bombs going off when I'm working, filming Svengali deck, bomb going off, and the ice cream girls crying their eyes out because the bomb went off, and a grafter looks at me, say, he had the bang, and he says, "We all know what that was, don't we?" Oh, have fun reading all that.
Wow.
I've only told you a fraction of what's in the book. There's more.
Wow. I'm going to go and order that straight away, and I think everyone else should as well. But Mark, I just want to say on behalf of everyone that's watched this interview, thank you for coming on Magic TV.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for finding the time to do this interview. I know you don't do many interviews, so thank you so much. And you know, you've been an inspiration to me. You've been, whether you realize it or not, you've been an inspiration to a lot of people. And I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done. Genuinely,
you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
I really mean that. So,
and thank you for helping me figure out how to get on this Zoom thing.
You're more than welcome. Let me just wrap this up, and then I'll pause it, and then we'll have another chat. So, guys, do me a favor, like the video, but more importantly, leave a comment down below. And Mark has a secret group on Facebook where he talks through a lot of stuff. So we're not going to tell you what the secret group is. We're going to keep it very quiet. But if you want access to that secret group, go and send a friend request on Facebook to Mark. And you know, maybe he'll tell you what it is if he likes you. Maybe he won't. But you know, that's something that you might want to look into as well. But in the meantime, leave a comment down below. Mark will see it. And on behalf of Mark Lewis, thank you very much for checking out the interview. Mark,
it's going on YouTube, by the way.
It's going on YouTube. It's going on Spotify. It's going on Apple Podcast. It's going everywhere.
I know what YouTube is. I'll look at it.
Yeah, but as soon as it goes live, I'll send you the link and I'll tag you in.
All right.
And I'll put it in that secret group as well so that people can see it.
Okay, good. Okay.
But guys, leave a comment down below and I will see you again soon. Mark, one more time, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Guys, I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV, and this has been one of my favorite interviews.
Thank you very much.